Part 10. I'll never regret my decision just because of what Finn Taylor says. Who is he? He's just a useless matrilocal son-in-law. He's no different from a useless dog in the Larson family, so how dare he say that I'm going to regret it? How ridiculous. Ha ha ha. Yvette, oh Yvette, I never thought that you'd be so stupid. Even though your family always stirs up trouble, Grandpa always forgives you guys because you're family. But this time, you've gone too far. This is the Larson family's ancestral shrine. It's the place for our ancestors to rest in peace. Grandpa cares most about filial piety, so you must have a death wish to cause trouble here. Question mark. Yvette Larson admitted that her cousin made sense. To be honest, even she didn't have any clue what her husband was trying to achieve by doing this. However, she chose to believe him. She knew that her spouse wouldn't hurt her. Finn Taylor's actions quickly caused an uproar in the Larson family. The first branch was Joseph Larson, the second, Harold Larson, the third, Philip Larson, the fourth, Arthur Larson. In total, hundreds of Larsons gathered at the ancestral shrine. All of Harold Larson's descendants had reddened eyes and were just about to rush forward to skin Finn Taylor alive if not for the family head Joseph Larson saying, "Finn Taylor, do you know that you've infuriated everyone? All the Larson family descendants have gathered here today. Even though you're from my family, I won't be able to protect you." Finn Taylor took a good look at everyone around him. In the end, he shook his head slowly. "We're still waiting for someone." Joseph Larson looked around before asking, "Who might that be?" Quince Larson already had an answer and quickly responded, "Grandpa, Heather Larson isn't here yet." "Oh, Heather Larson. She hasn't been back to the Larson family for a few years, so it doesn't matter whether she's here." "Finn Taylor, you'd better explain yourself. What are you trying to do?" Finn Taylor shook his head. "I'll naturally let you know what I'm trying to do once everyone is here. However, I'm not going to say a word even if I have to set myself on fire just to destroy this photo. That is, not until everyone is here." Quince Larson sneered. "Set yourself on fire. Why don't we try that? What can you do even if you light the fire?" Finn Taylor picked up the lighter, causing all of Harold Larson's descendants to panic. "Hold on, Quince Larson, talk is cheap. Would you be so calm if he was threatening to burn your ancestors' photos?" He tried to continue, but Joseph Larson cut in. "All right, Quince was wrong, I'll punish him. Finn Taylor, calm down. We can talk this through, we're a family. Get Heather Larson here then." Joseph Larson gestured, and Walter Larson, Heather Larson's father, eventually made a call to his daughter. In the call, Walter Larson asked his daughter to return, saying that he was gravely ill. Upon receiving his call, Heather Larson immediately set off from New York for San Francisco. However, she had doubts in her mind. "Father said that he's gravely ill, but why did he ask me to meet him at the Larson family's ancestral shrine? Does he want me to pray to them for protection?" Since she couldn't make sense of it, she decided to stop thinking about it for now. "Finn Taylor, I've already asked my daughter to come back. Can you put my father's photo down?" Walter Larson roared at Finn Taylor. "I'll naturally put it down once your daughter is here, but I'm not going to do that now." Walter Larson was fuming. "Someone is threatening me with my father's photo in the ancestral shrine. Moreover, the one threatening me is none other than the Larson family's useless matrilocal son-in-law." Joke of the entire San Francisco. Walter Larson couldn't help but feel that he was being treated like a clown. "Finn Taylor, don't test our limits." Walter Larson felt that there was no point in talking to Finn Taylor, the latter was a madman. He walked up to Joseph Larson and bowed respectfully. "Sir, I've always done everything I can for the family, and I've always supported the family in everything. But look at this is your grandson-in-law. He's threatening to burn your younger brother's photo. Are you really not going to do anything about it? If you really ignore this, there's no point in our family being part of the Larson family anymore. We'll just establish a new family." As soon as Walter Larson finished his words, the descendants of Philip Larson and Arthur Larson stood up in support. The Larson family was split into the main branch Joseph Larson's family and the three branches, Harold Larson, Philip Larson, and Arthur Larson's families. There had always been a conflict between the main family and the other branches. It was just that nobody said anything about it. However, Finn Taylor's actions today had been the last straw for the branch families. In their minds, Finn Taylor was nothing but a piece of trash. He was someone the Larson family could order around at will. How could someone like this dare to burn our ancestral shrine? Someone must have put him up to this, and it's likely that this person was Joseph Larson. He's doing this to warn and remind the three branch families that he's the Larson family head. That was why Joseph Larson had become the subject of their criticism now. Of course, the old master had lived a long life and had been through trials and tribulations. Thus, he naturally understood what they were thinking about. He could tell what they were trying to do in an instant, but he couldn't afford to let them leave the Larsen family and establish their own family. If he were to agree to that, he wouldn't be able to face his late father, Hugo Larsen. Walter Larsen, watch your words. There are some things you should never say. I'll naturally punish Finn Taylor for what he's done, but if you want to take your family and leave the Larsen family, do you think you'll be able to face your father? Do you want your father to bear the name of being an unfilial son even in his death? Walter Larsen was clearly displeased with Joseph Larsen's words, but he couldn't deny that the family head made sense. He couldn't possibly leave the Larsen family with his family branch. Sir, I'm sorry for letting my mouth run loose, but your family was the one who created this mess. Don't you think you should do something about it? Francis Larsen, Linda James, Yvette Larsen, are all three of you dead? Yvette Larsen's entire family was lambasted by Walter Larsen. Finn Taylor immediately stood up. Walter Larsen, if you dare to say another word about Yvette, you're dead meat. Walter Larsen had been humiliated by Finn Taylor one too many times. This was as far as he could tolerate, and he charged toward Yvette Larsen. Yvette Larsen, since you're so undisciplined, I'll have to discipline you. Walter Larsen was agile, and it seemed like he was trained in martial arts too. Before the Larsen family members could react, he had already made his way to Yvette Larsen. He raised his hand and was about to land a slap on her face. That evoked horror in everyone there. Who would have expected Walter Larsen to be so emotional? He's going to slap Yvette Larsen in the face, in front of Joseph Larsen no less. If he really slaps her, he won't be slapping Yvette Larsen alone. She represents Joseph Larsen's branch of the family. Recently, there have even been rumors that Yvette Larsen will inherit the position of family head. It was clear that Walter Larsen was trying to provoke Joseph Larsen and put him on the spot by slapping the next family head. Everyone stood there dazedly, feeling as though a revolution was about to take place in the Larsen family. Walter Larsen was struck down, and so was a photo on the ancestral shrine. As they looked over, everyone was stunned when they realized that it was Finn Taylor who had struck both down. Finn Taylor strolled up quickly and stepped on Walter Larsen's face. I told you that I wouldn't let it go if you dared to do something to Yvette again. It seems like you didn't take my words to heart. What, will you remember them now? Walter Larsen was the head of the branch families. All three side branches of the Larsen family basically took instructions from Walter Larsen alone. But now, Finn Taylor was trampling all over him. Finn Taylor, let Walter Larsen go. Finn Taylor, Walter Larsen is your elder. What are you trying to do? Sir, are all your descendants this disrespectful? All three branch families' members turned toward Joseph Larsen and lashed out at him. Even the old master didn't know what to do. If you say that I'm being disrespectful, do you mean that you guys are being respectful while shouting at Grandpa, who's the family head? Finn Taylor, don't make excuses. We only went that far because you forced us. Do you think we would have gone so far otherwise? Oh, I was the one who forced all of you. Tell me then, have you done nothing to wrong your ancestors? The branch family's members turned to glance at each other. They had no clue what Finn Taylor was talking about. Has someone done anything wrong? Let my father go. Just then, they heard a voice from outside. Everyone turned in shock. It was the only Larsen that had been absent, Heather Larsen. They couldn't help but wonder if Finn Taylor was talking about Heather Larsen. But that's impossible. Heather Larsen hasn't been back home for years. What could she probably do to harm the family? Finn Taylor shook his leg and finally retracted it. Finn Taylor, what are you doing? Heather Larsen rushed up to help her father up. Witnessing this, she had already guessed that her father had lied to her to get her home. However, she still didn't understand why her father had done so. Dad, what's going on? Walter Larsen then told his daughter about everything that had happened. Heather Larsen supported her father to a chair before walking up to Finn Taylor. She raised her arm, trying to slap him. However, she hadn't expected Finn Taylor to reach out and grab her wrist. You, how dare you stop me? Don't they all say that you allow everyone in the Larsen family to hit and scold you without fighting back? Finn Taylor shoved her away, and she fell back several meters away. Rumors aren't always the truth, just like how the rumors say that you're the most outstanding person in the Larsen branch families. They even say that you haven't been back to the Larsen family for years, but is that really the case? Finn Taylor turned to Quince Larsen. Have you really not met Heather Larsen in 3 years? Quince Larsen was stunned, never expecting Finn Taylor to target him. No. Quince Larsen hadn't finished his sentence before the latter's gaze shut him up. He felt that the other probably knew something. As such, he didn't try to hide it any further. Alright, it's true that Heather Larson has been back all this time. We've been secretly meeting her, and the last time we met was just last month. Who else? Eleanor Larson took a step forward. Me and your wife. Are you trying to drag us down? I bet you never thought that your wife would be involved too. What are you trying to do? Finn Taylor ignored Eleanor Larson, drawing laughter. Alright, Heather Larson, what do you have to say? Heather Larson shrugged and said coldly, I don't have anything to say. It's true that I was back, but is that a crime? The three Branch family's members agreed. That's right, our Heather is so brilliant. She's busy and only has time to meet a few people every time she's back. Do you mean that she's guilty just because she didn't meet the head of our family? These people were fools and had been completely sidetracked. That's right, she's guilty, but it's not because she didn't meet the family head. Rather, it's because she was plotting someone's death. Finn Taylor's words dumbfounded the entire family. Finn Taylor, don't spout nonsense. That's right, what evidence do you have? How could you accuse Heather Larson? If you don't show us evidence, we'll rip your mouth apart. Everyone in the Branch families was overwhelmed with emotions. They had already thought of taking over the family a long time ago, and the only one capable of leading them was Heather Larson. From the way they saw it, Finn Taylor was trying to suppress all three of their families by maligning Heather Larson. Finn Taylor reached out and revealed a piece of jade. Heather Larson, I'm sure you're familiar with this piece of jade. There are a total of 3 such pieces. Quince Larson and Eleanor Larson probably have the other 2. Quince Larson and Eleanor Larson were still in a daze at that moment, but they took out their pieces of jade in unison. Quince Larson, where did you get that piece of jade? You're right, it was a gift from Heather Larson. What are you trying to say? Which family is Quince Larson from? Is he stupid? Why is he speaking up for Heather Larson? Heather Larson, I checked on your immigration records. 3 months ago, you made a trip to Thailand. These 3 pieces of jade were from a temple there, and all 3 of these jade pieces are cursed. Whoever wears one of these jade pieces will have their energy sucked out of them until they die. Finn Taylor's words were like a bolt out of the blue. Everyone's eyes were glued to the piece of jade in Finn Taylor's hand. Cursed? Question mark. What Finn Taylor was saying was that Heather Larson was trying to use sorcery to kill Yvette Larson, Quince Larson, and Eleanor Larson. If this is true, then Heather Larson will be doomed. It was common for families to have internal conflicts. Joseph Larson had only earned his position as family head after a struggle. However, blood ties were the most important factor that bound them all together. As such, no struggle should ever lead to any deaths. But Heather Larson had gone against that rule. I have a piece of jade too. Just then, Quinn Larson stood forward. He had a piece of jade in his hand as well. It was exactly the same as the one in Finn Taylor's hand. Heather Larson gave it to me. At the same time, Quince Larson and Eleanor Larson took out theirs. The 4 pieces of jade looked identical. All eyes were glued to Heather Larson. In an instant, the latter was thrown into the spotlight. Nobody from the 3 Branch families dared to say a word. Even they had no idea whether Finn Taylor was speaking the truth. If it's true, we would definitely be branded as accomplices if we speak up for Heather Larson. All that was heard in the room was Heather Larson's laughter. Finn Taylor, what kind of mean prank are you playing now? You say that I'm trying to kill Yvette Larson, but where's your proof? Do you think that you can use this piece of jade as evidence just because I gave it to them? Heather Larson naturally wasn't going to admit to attempting murder. In fact, she was even trying to pull Finn Taylor down. Joseph Larson, do you hate us so much that you're trying to malign us now? Heather Larson was trying to use the conflict between the main family and the Branch families to make everyone misunderstand that Finn Taylor was only maligning her. Unfortunately, there was no way Finn Taylor would have appeared before them and exposed everything if he didn't have concrete evidence. Finn Taylor wasn't the slightest bit nervous as he tossed his phone to his wife. She caught it and realized that there was a video on it. As such, she clicked it open. When the recording started playing, everyone's expressions changed. What Yvette Larson saw was Heather Larson taking the 4 pieces of jade from an old monk in the Thai temple. The others could clearly hear the conversation between the monk and Heather Larson. Heather Larson had asked the monk whether the pieces of jade were really cursed and how long it would take for them to die. She even asked if she would be in any danger. After the video was played, Quince Larson rushed up and snatched the phone from his cousin to watch it again. He then pointed at the phone and roared at Heather Larson, Heather Larson, you tried to kill me. I trusted you so much, yet you tried to kill me. Heather Larson was in complete despair. Faced with solid evidence, she had nothing left to say. Nobody in the Larson family, especially those from the three branch families, dared to say a thing. Finn Taylor glanced at Walter Larson. Walter Larson, your daughter tried to kill her own family members. You've humiliated your father, so I'll burn his photo in front of you today. Do you have any objections to that? With that, Finn Taylor immediately lit the photo on fire without waiting for Walter Larson's reply. As such, Harold Larson's photo was completely burned to ashes in front of the three branch families. Grandpa, as the Larson family head, how are you going to handle this? Finn Taylor naturally wasn't going to let Heather Larson off easily, but he wanted to see what his grandfather would do. Heather Larson, you tried to kill your family members with cursed pieces of jade. I'm announcing that you're going to be chased out of the Larson family. I'll let Yvette Larson and the rest decide on how to deal with you. Walter Larson, you didn't raise your daughter well. From today onward, you'll be stripped of all your positions and power in the Larson Corporation. None of Harold Larson's descendants will be given a place in the ancestral hall either. The other two branches, you'd better not say that you didn't know anything about this. I won't believe you anyway. I'll reduce your salaries in the company by 10%. With that, he harumphed and walked off. The Larson family had pretty much crumbled. What are we going to do with her? Yvette Larson pointed at Heather Larson as she asked her husband. Finn Taylor chuckled. Hurry up and scram. Heather Larson was slightly confused. Finn Taylor has let me go. Although she didn't understand the situation, she didn't want to stay here. As such, she sprinted off the moment she got the chance. Eleanor Larson thought that it was strange for Finn Taylor to let Heather Larson go. Of course, Finn Taylor hadn't done so. There was no way he would let someone who had plotted against his wife go. He simply didn't want to kill someone in front of his wife. Someone would naturally end her life after she left. She would definitely be dead before the day ended. Finn Taylor, are you stupid? She tried to kill your wife, yet you let her off just like that. Seeing that Finn Taylor had let Heather Larson off the hook, Quince Larson was visibly annoyed. Nonetheless, Finn Taylor merely rolled his eyes at him. Quince Larson, do you remember our bet? I bet you're regretting it now. Come on, my shoes are here. Lick them. In an instant, Quince Larson was thrown into a daze. What's going on? Why did I have to say that? Great, I've made it obvious that I'm regretting it now. I was only joking. As he said that, he turned to back away. Finn Taylor took a step forward and snatched his phone back. Then, he pressed Quince Larson onto the ground. Quince Larson had been forced onto the other's shoes. I don't care if you're willing or forced. Anyway, you licked my shoes. Let's go home. Finn Taylor picked his wife's hand up and walked out of the room. The rest couldn't help but feel a whole range of emotions rise up. They had been exceptionally indignant when that piece of trash Finn Taylor had first started to wreak havoc at the ancestral shrine. Who would have thought that it would turn out this way? Did you already know about it? Not for long, but I had my suspicions from the first time I saw your piece of jade. Yvette Larson was over the moon today. She hadn't understood why Finn Taylor had been trying to kick up such a huge fuss at the ancestral shrine. Thankfully, she had chosen to trust him. And as it turned out, her trust had been well placed. This man had spared no effort in protecting her. Just then, Finn Taylor received a message from Zane Yeller. Finn Taylor glanced at the message. Zane Yeller had found that food kiosk boss. He was at La Feria Club. The reason he was there was that he thought that Siberian Wolf was there too. Siberian Wolf had been amongst those who had killed the food kiosk boss's woman at that time. Finn Taylor had always been interested in this boss. If I want to convince the latter, it seems like I will have to make a trip down to La Feria Club tonight. After sending his wife home, Finn Taylor told her that he would have to go out to settle some business. Yvette Larson glanced out of the window. It was already late, and the sun was about to set. Is it very important? It's dark outside. Why don't you go over tomorrow? Finn Taylor also wanted to head over the next day. It would be great to hug his wife to sleep. Unfortunately, he had no other choice. After tonight, it would be difficult to find such a good opportunity again. If I can get that boss's help tonight, I might just be able to settle everything. Finn Taylor put on a helpless expression. Yvette Larson was reasonable. After seeing his expression, she understood that he didn't have a choice either. Since that was the case, she naturally wouldn't force her husband to stay at home. Stay safe. Finn Taylor nodded before heading out. La Feria Club was a unique place. It was one men loved, but women hated. As long as one had money, they could do anything to the women here. When he arrived at the door, Finn Taylor didn't spot Zane Yeller, so he headed in alone. No sooner had he walked into the club than a woman ran into Finn Taylor's embrace. "Young master, we've never seen you here. Is this your first time here? Come on, I'll bring you to my room." Finn Taylor shoved that woman aside. She shook the handkerchief in her hand viciously. After all, this happened every day. She was already used to it. Finn Taylor looked around. Where has Zane Yeller gone? But very quickly, he found a hint on the wall. This was a secret code of Peregrine Hall, and it pointed Finn Taylor in the direction Zane Yeller had been in. It was obvious that the latter had been here, but something had happened, and he couldn't afford to wait for Finn Taylor outside. He had headed in alone, but he knew that he had to leave some clues for Master Peregrine. Otherwise, the latter wouldn't be able to find him even after entering. Finn Taylor followed the clues left behind by Zane Yeller. Very quickly, he arrived at a BA Milked. Wait a minute, the bright and welcoming La Feria Club houses such a place. Something must be amiss. Just as he was about to head downstairs, he realized that the door had been blocked. He tried to push it open, but it didn't budge. Something had been pushed up against the door on the other side. What is it? Ah, just then, Finn Taylor heard a blood-curdling scream from behind the door. There were two people making those noises, and Finn Taylor was certain that Zane Yeller was one of them. If I'm not wrong, the other person should be that boss. It seems like they're both in danger. With just one punch, he smashed the door into pieces. It wasn't that Finn Taylor didn't have the strength to break that door down. He was simply used to keeping his true abilities under wraps. However, that was none of his concern now. Finn Taylor's punch had caused great quaking, stunning all those in the BA Milked. Finn Taylor took a look at those people. As expected, Zane Yeller and that food kiosk boss were being hung from the ceiling, enduring beatings from the others. Amongst the ones standing was Siberian Wolf. As for the others, they were all lackeys that were of no importance. "Kneel down," Finn Taylor shouted at Siberian Wolf. However, the latter acted as though he hadn't heard it. Siberian Wolf and his subordinates chuckled. In fact, they were bent over in laughter and couldn't even say anything. "Do you have a death wish?" Siberian Wolf replied to Finn Taylor in a sarcastic tone. The latter raised his brows. It seems like he had understood my words perfectly fine, but they didn't follow them. What a pity. If they kneeled down, I might have let them off. But now that you're going against Master Peregrine's will, you're all going to die. Ah, then, Finn Taylor demonstrated to Zane Yeller and that boss how to assassinate someone. Even all 7 of Siberian Wolf's men ganging up on him didn't mean much to Finn Taylor. To be more accurate, it was the latter viciously killing them alone. Ellipsis. Finn Taylor had gone out. For some reason, Yvette Larson couldn't seem to fall asleep. It hasn't been long since Finn has moved into my room, yet it feels like it has been years since he's done so. I've already gotten used to having him by my side. Now that he wasn't, she felt that it was strange and foreign. Just then, she received a text message. She opened it and realized that it was from her best friend. "Yvette, I'm guessing Finn Taylor isn't at home today." How could Clarine know about that? Yvette Larson was stunned. "How did you know? Don't tell me that he went to look for you." "No, why would he do that?" Yvette Larson rolled her eyes. "Tell me then, how do you know that he isn't at home?" "Huh, is he really not at home? Let me send you some photos then." Right after that, Yvette Larson received a series of photos from her best friend. The photos clearly showed Finn Taylor walking into La Feria Club. "I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. Is that really Finn Taylor?" "Yvette, did something happen between the two of you? Why would Finn Taylor go to a place like that?" The moment Yvette Larson saw these photos, her mind went blank, and her ears started buzzing. She didn't even know what to say. Of course, she hadn't heard what Clarine Landon had said after that. Now, her entire mind was filled with the scene of her husband entering La Feria Club. Why is he there? Yvette Larson didn't even need to think too much about it to get her answer. Finn Taylor acts like he loves me so much, but he's going to such places behind my back. Today, I was even moved and thought that he truly loved me. It's obvious that everything is fake. Love, that's just an act. Thinking about how her husband was crawling on top of another woman, Yvette Larson was utterly disgusted and swore not to forgive him. Boo-hoo. She burst into tears. She felt horrible. It's been 3 years. It's true that Finn Taylor hasn't lived a good life, but have I? It was true that Finn hasn't had an easy life in the past 3 years, but as his wife, I didn't have an easy life either. Every time I headed out, I would always be picked on by others. Yet, I have never cheated on him or even mentioned a divorce. But now, Finn is having an affair. He went all the way to La Feria Club. Ellipsis. Question mark. Finn Taylor saved Zane Yeller and that boss from Lefaria Club and settled them down. What's going on? Was that person that strong? Finn Taylor thought that it was strange. Siberian Wolf isn't that strong, so why had Zane Yeller fallen into his hands? Underhanded methods. Before I could even react to it, I was drugged. By the time I woke up, I was already hanging from the ceiling. That boss spat out some foam and wiped the blood from his wounds. Then, he forced himself to say, "Thanks." Zane Yeller was annoyed. "I risked my life for you and almost died, but look at how reluctant you are. Can you speak nicely?" Finn Taylor waved him off. He didn't really care for such details. "I talked to you about following me the previous time. What, will you be willing to do so this time? If you're unwilling, I won't force you. You can continue working in your shack." The boss laughed in a self-deprecating manner. "It'd be shameless of me to refuse you even now. I'm Andre Cavill." "Andre Cavill? Question mark. Finn Taylor was stunned. "You're Andre Cavill? Then, do you know Henry Klimt?" Andre Cavill was taken aback. "You know my master?" Finn Taylor rolled his eyes. Henry Klimt was one of the 3 masters of Peregrine Hall and had been in charge of teaching Donovan Taylor since his childhood. Of course, that's simply the job my parents had assigned to him. He's a fair person and would teach me too. To be fair, Henry Klimt can be considered as my mentor. The one in front of you is Henry Klimt's best student. Best student? Andre Cavill was slightly shocked. "Are you a tailor?" "No, I've heard them call you Master Peregrine. You must be Timothy Taylor." Finn Taylor waved him off. "Just call me Finn Taylor. Timothy Taylor is dead." Andre Cavill bowed down. When his wife had just passed away, he had been so dejected that he had nearly taken his own life. It was his master Henry Klimt that had sought him out. The former had told him that someone was waiting for him in San Francisco, and that person was none other than Timothy Taylor. Andre Cavill had never expected that he had already met that person before. It was just that he had been utterly disrespected at their first meeting. "Master Peregrine, I was a fool to have missed out on that." Andre Cavill felt terribly embarrassed. My master had told me to aid Finn Taylor well. The latter saved me in the end, yet I had been so ungrateful. "That's fine. You can just call me Finn Taylor in the future. Also, don't expose my identity. I'm just a matrilocal son-in-law in the Larson family, now an infamous piece of trash in San Francisco." When Andre Cavill heard that, he couldn't help but roll his eyes. Who's the one who spread the rumor that Finn Taylor is a useless matrilocal son-in-law? If he's a piece of trash, then all men won't even qualify to be trash. Ellipsis. When Finn Taylor arrived home, he realized that all his belongings had been thrown downstairs. "What's the matter?" He glanced at Diane Taylor and asked in a small voice. This had happened in the past, but it had always been the work of Linda James. Since I've been staying under Linda James's roof, there was nothing much I could do. However, I'm the one who paid for number 1 Pacific Heights. Do I have to be bullied by Linda James in my own home as well? Ms. Larson is angry. Diane Taylor was terrified, and she revealed that to her employer in a whisper. Ms. Larson. Finn Taylor was in a daze. It wasn't Linda James but Yvette who did this. But why? I didn't even get into a fight with her. There's no reason for her to be angry. Oh, you know to come back. Yvette Larson walked out of her room and glared at her husband while standing at the top of the staircase. Finn Taylor had thought that Diane Taylor was just joking with him, but now, it looked like his wife was truly furious. Is it because I stayed out? Finn Taylor put on a smile. Haha, I'm back. Why did you bother coming back? You might as well just die there. Finn Taylor was stunned. She is truly infuriated. Haha, this is my home. I naturally have to come home. Finn Taylor knew that it was wrong for him to have stayed out overnight. Home? You know that this is your home. Tell me, where did you go last night? Finn Taylor could tell that his wife was fuming. My friend ran into some trouble last night, and I went to save him. Clank. The mug in Yvette Larson's hand dropped on the ground and smashed into hundreds of pieces. Finn Taylor, I even chose to believe you for the last time. I told myself to believe that you weren't doing anything wrong if you told the truth, but I never thought that you'd still lie to me even now. Didn't you go to Lefaria Club last night? Why would you go to a place like that? If you're really innocent, why did you lie to me? Yvette Larson's string of questions threw Finn Taylor into what seemed like hell. Earlier on, Linda James and her husband had walked out of their room as well, and they had heard their daughter screaming. Finn Taylor, oh Finn Taylor. How dare you go to a place like Lefaria Club? You're really disgusting, Finn Taylor. You'd better get out of my sight. He could tell that Linda James was trying to use this to chase him out. Of course, He wasn't going to agree to it. This is my house. Why should I leave? Tears fell from the corners of Yvette Larson's eyes. You're right. You were the one who bought this house. It's only right that you shouldn't leave. We're the ones who should leave. What right do we have to remain here? Finn Taylor's heart broke as he saw his wife tearing up. No, Yvette, it's not like what you think. I did go to La Feria Club, but I didn't go to. All right, don't say anything else. I find it disgusting. You can sleep in the guest room downstairs. I'll think about whether to continue with this marriage. With that, Yvette Larson headed to the office. Only Finn Taylor was left rooted to the ground, making tons of excuses for himself. I really can't tell them about what happened last night. I can't possibly tell them about how I had killed Siberian Wolf, much less reveal Andre Cavill's identity. If I do so, I would immediately be exposing my own identity as Master Peregrine. Finn Taylor was very distressed. He picked up his belongings and headed to the guest room. Finn Taylor thought that he had become no better than a rat in this house. However, Diane Taylor entered and helped him clean up the room. Don't you think I'm disgusting? Finn Taylor asked such a strange question that Diane Taylor couldn't help but laugh. Mr. Taylor, I'm sure that you've done nothing wrong. You probably have your own reasons that you can't reveal. Finn Taylor simply smiled but didn't explain himself. While eating lunch, Linda James had been lambasting her son-in-law, saying that he was worthless. Diane Taylor couldn't stand it and had spoken up for him. In the end, she was scolded as well. Linda James was mean with her words and was terribly unreasonable. She immediately called Diane Taylor shameless for staying in their house, even saying that the latter was trying to become Finn Taylor's mistress. Finn Taylor quickly stopped his mother-in-law, instructing Diane Taylor to return to her room. Mom, can you be more reasonable? I don't mind you scolding me, but why do you have to drag her into the picture too? She's so young and hasn't even turned 20. Would you feel good about someone scolding Yvette like that at that age? Seeing that Finn Taylor was still rebuking her even after he had done something wrong, Linda James was fuming. With a loud thud, she slammed her fork down on the table. Isn't she just a helper? I'm paying her, so why can't I scold her? If you don't want me to scold her, transfer the house to Yvette. Don't you think that Yvette won't get a divorce from you? Let's see if you dare to transfer this house to Yvette then. At the mention of this, Diane Taylor rushed out of her room. No, Mr. Taylor, I'm just hired help, so it's fine for me to be scolded. But Finn Taylor questioned, are you sure that you won't scold Diane Taylor from now on if I hand this house over to Yvette? Fine, I can promise you that. As long as you transfer the house to Yvette, I won't scold her anymore. All right, I can do that. You can decide on the date. Linda James was elated as soon as she heard those words. It was as though she had won a battle. Mr. Taylor, I'm sorry for bothering you. Diane Taylor felt uneasy. Everyone else in the family treated her as a helper, and only Finn Taylor treated her as his own kin. Nobody would ever let hired help eat at the same table during meals. Yet, Finn Taylor had allowed her to do so. It's not your problem. She hates me and is just using you as an excuse. Diane Taylor knew that he was speaking the truth, but that didn't ease the discomfort in her heart. That afternoon, Finn Taylor received news from Wampus third master of Chicago's Gold family had arrived in San Francisco. The Gold family of Chicago wasn't just any small family. They were a prestigious and well-known family. Although third master Gold wasn't the family head, he was still an elder in the family. Upon receiving this piece of news, Finn Taylor rushed off to look for Wampus. Then, he received another piece of news from the latter. Gold family head wouldn't live for much longer and was going to hand the family over to his son. Based on the Gold family's rules, all of the old master's siblings would have to move out of Chicago and start new lives of their own. Otherwise, the old master's son would never be able to cater to all of his elders' wants. Once the family head couldn't have the final say, the family would be in grave danger. It seemed like third master Gold was going to settle down in San Francisco to expand his territory. Finn Taylor was rather interested in third master Gold and decided to pay him a visit. With Wampus leading the way, Finn Taylor quickly arrived at San Francisco's Martial Arts Center. San Francisco's Martial Arts Center seemed to be a martial arts academy on the surface, but its BA milk housed an underground arena. Of course, Finn Taylor wasn't here to learn martial arts. As such, the pair headed straight for the underground arena. However, they were stopped at the door. But as soon as Wampus revealed his identity, the security officer stepped aside and let them in. Ellipsis. In the underground arena, beside third master Gold was a strange girl, his granddaughter, Kimberly Gold. Grandpa, will we not be able to stay in San Francisco if we lose this contest? Third Master Gold smiled. It's best not for little girls to ask about such things. In reality, Third Master Gold knew very well that his granddaughter was right. Every place had its own rules. In every city, a few families kept each other in check, and none was able to rise up or fall. The poor were still poor, while the rich were still rich. To prominent families, this was the best situation possible. However, any new power trying to break into the circle would disturb this fragile ecosystem. Hence, any family that wanted to break into San Francisco's business circle had to win this match in the underground arena. Here, there were many fighters who were backed by the most prominent families in San Francisco. If Third Master Gold wanted to settle down in San Francisco, he would have to hire a fighter and win against the fighters here as well. Grandpa, listen to me. That fighter their prince looks strong. Prince Hay was a prince amongst men. What arrogance. Of course, Third Master Gold had heard of him. However, he couldn't back down from this fight. The fighter he had hired wasn't bad either. He was a Muay Thai master. He had paid the fighter tenfold the normal price. Even if he were to die, he had to die in the arena. Because he had been so generous, he was sure that this man would go all out. Third Master Gold was certain that his fighter would surely win. Under such a tense atmosphere, Finn Taylor strolled in. Only he walked in while Wampus stood at the door, stopping anyone else from entering. Wait a minute, the little girl was a little curious as she looked at Finn Taylor. Are you Prince? You look quite weak. Finn Taylor was confused. What the heck? I'm Master Peregrine. Since when have I become a prince instead? No, I'm just here to watch the match. The moment the girl heard that, her initial interest faded. To her, she simply wanted to see if that prince her grandpa's fighter was going against was actually strong. She had no interest in anyone else. The chapters is up by N0VE Iban. Very quickly, Prince appeared. Just from his walk alone, Kimberly Gold felt a strong aura from him. Prince was a true master. This was an aura he had gained from experiencing hundreds of battles. An average person could never exude such a strong aura. Grandpa, Kimberly Gold was slightly worried, but they had no choice but to go into battle. The Gold family's fighter entered the arena too. The two fighters bowed to each other. Fight. The moment the match started, the Muay Thai fighter was struck down and flipped onto the ground. In an instant, the air in the arena froze. A chilling gaze flashed past Third Master Gold's eyes. A chilling gaze flashed past Third Master Gold's eyes. I had come all the way from Chicago just to settle down in San Francisco. I'd definitely be made a joke if I can't even pass this first round. Of course, Third Master Gold had a backup plan. It was just that he didn't want to reveal it so early on. Do I really have to show my ace card now? Question mark. What are you laughing at? Just then, Kimberly Gold's furious roar pulled Third Master Gold back from his thoughts. He looked over to see Finn Taylor sitting there and in a fit of laughter. Is this really funny? The old man was clearly in a bad mood, yet Finn Taylor couldn't stop laughing. Third Master Gold couldn't help but feel that this young man was mocking him. Not really, I just think that he's rather useless. That last word infuriated Third Master Gold. He couldn't tell whether the other was calling the Muay Thai fighter useless or calling him useless. Perhaps it was both. I can settle this for you. Just as Third Master Gold was about to flare up, Finn Taylor made an offer. You. Kimberly Gold scanned Finn Taylor up and down, clear disbelief in her eyes. All right, I'll give you a chance to represent me. If you can survive 3 rounds, I'll pay you $150,000. Third Master Gold had already decided to show his ace card. He couldn't afford to lose today's battle, but it would take some time for his men to come. Thus, he needed someone to delay the rest for now. Since this young man is willing to represent me, I'll simply let him do so. After 3 rounds, my ace card will probably arrive by then. I don't need 3 rounds. I'll destroy him in just 1 round. Crazy, ignorant, arrogant, that was what Third Master Gold thought of Finn Taylor. The chapters is up by N0VE Iban. Although the Muay Thai master had been defeated, Third Master Gold had to admit that he was strong and skilled. Nonetheless, Prince had knocked him out with just 1 punch. It was obvious just how strong Prince Washi was, a prince amongst men. How can this young man be so full of himself in front of Prince? Third Master Gold was worried that this man in front of him wouldn't even survive 1 round. Under Third Master Gold and Kimberly Gold's disbelieving gazes, Finn Taylor walked into the ring. Do you have a death wish? Prince's eyes were filled with murderous intent. I've already won the previous round with ease, but this man still thinks nothing of me and wants to go against me. Prince felt humiliated. It was as though his skills were being doubted. I must let this man know the price of provoking me. The two men took their places, and the match started. Although they didn't have too much hope in Finn Taylor, Third Master Gold and Kimberly Gold still paid full attention to the match. Prince rushed up and jumped to a height of nearly 5 meters. With his signature move, he came flying down with a punch. Third Master Gold shook his head helplessly. I had already thought highly of Prince, but it seems that he's even more powerful and even stronger than I had expected. Kimberly Gold's face was sour too. How could I have put any hope on that young man? It seems like everything is turning into ashes now. Clank. Finn Taylor stuck out his leg and kicked it into the air. Then, everyone watched as Prince was kicked out of the ring. The latter fell onto the ground heavily, bleeding from all orifices. As for Finn Taylor, he was still standing within the ring. He was perfectly fine. At that moment, Third Master Gold and Kimberly Gold were still in a daze. Previously, that young man said that he would win the match in just one move. At that time, we had mocked him and told him not to be too full of himself. However, it seems like he hadn't been bragging. We are the ignorant ones. Third Master Gold smiled and got up, welcoming Finn Taylor back. Young man, what's your name? I'm Lincoln Gold, the Gold family's third son. Everyone calls me Third Master Gold. This is my granddaughter, Kimberly Gold. Third Master Gold introduced himself seriously to Finn Taylor. It seemed like he was completely satisfied with the latter and wanted to get on good terms with him. I'm Finn Taylor. Finn Taylor naturally didn't conceal his identity either, since he wanted to get in contact with the Gold family. Finn Taylor. At the mention of this name, Third Master Gold and Kimberly Gold glanced at each other. They could see the shock in each other's eyes when they heard it. Young man, that's not a very good name. There's someone in San Francisco with that same name, he's even a celebrity. Finn Taylor rolled his eyes. I think you're talking about me. At that, the surprise on Third Master Gold and Kimberly Gold's faces intensified. You're the matrilocal son-in-law of the Larson family. Kimberly Gold was slightly doubtful. Given Finn Taylor's skills, he can be a capable son-in-law of a prominent family in Chicago. But why is he nothing more than a useless matrilocal son-in-law here in San Francisco? Is something wrong? Third Master Gold narrowed his eyes. He was clearly curious about why Finn Taylor was hiding his true self. I have something on, so I'm leaving. Oh right, Third Master Gold. Don't forget that you still owe me $1 million. With that, Finn Taylor turned to leave. Getting too close too quickly will backfire. It's enough for me to show off my skills and let them know of my name to spark their curiosity. Otherwise, it could very well work against me. Once Finn Taylor left, Kimberly Gold turned to her grandfather. Grandpa, it seems like there's more to this man. Oh, why do you say so? He's clearly capable, but he's fooled everyone so that they think that he's just a piece of trash. I don't think that he's so simple. For some reason, Third Master Gold didn't have a good feeling about this. You seem interested in him. Not really. I just think that we need someone powerful on our side now that we're leaving the Gold family, and given how hostile the other families in San Francisco are. As she went on, Third Master Gold thought that something was amiss. Kimberly, what do you mean? He has a wife. So what? He can always get a divorce. Since the Larson family doesn't cherish him, they shouldn't blame others for snatching him from them. Third Master Gold understood what his granddaughter meant. But you're only 18, you're still so young and beautiful. Do you really want to get married to a divorcee? I don't mind. Third Master Gold knew that he wouldn't be able to convince his granddaughter. All right, I won't oppose it, but you must agree to something. Are you going to tell me not to give myself to him before marriage? Don't worry, Grandpa, I won't do that. After walking out, Finn Taylor glanced at Wampus. Then, they headed in different directions. Finn Taylor didn't want to let Third Master Gold know of his background just yet. As soon as he returned home, he saw the property deed of No. 1 Pacific Heights in Linda James's hands. Yvette Larson was simply sitting there, her face ashen. Finn Taylor, the property deed is here. Let's go and transfer it to Yvette right now. Linda James clearly couldn't let this matter go. Even now, she still remembered how Finn Taylor had told her that he owned the house and how she should be the one leaving when they had gotten into an argument last time. But if he transferred ownership of the house to Yvette Larson, Finn Taylor would be the one needing to leave when they got into an argument next time. Yvette Larson picked up that property deed and looked at her husband. I just want an explanation. As long as you give me a reason, I won't go ahead with the transfer. She didn't want to transfer the ownership of the house. She felt that this would simply cause their relationship to deteriorate even further. It would seem as though she didn't trust her husband at all. As a woman, she needed to know why her husband had gone to a place like La Feria Club. Even if you have to come up with a lie, you should give me an excuse. Finn Taylor shook his head. I don't have excuses. All I can say is that I didn't do anything wrong, but I can't tell you why I went to La Feria Club. Yvette Larson's tears flowed down her face. She hated Finn Taylor. In that instant, she felt nothing but hatred for him. Why couldn't you just come up with an excuse? Have you really grown tired over the past 3 years? Do you want a separation too? Let's go. We'll go get the transfer done. Yvette Larson picked up her bag and suddenly dumped everything out of it before throwing the bag into the bin. This was the $30,000 bag that Finn Taylor had given her. But now, she didn't even want to look at it. Finn Taylor couldn't help but feel a surge of emotions in his heart. He didn't know what to tell his wife, but he couldn't afford to tell her the truth. Peregrine Hall was involved in way too many things. Donovan Taylor was still missing, and his grandma was still trying to kill him. The Larson family was still living in peace right now because Peregrine Hall knew that they didn't know about his true identity yet. Once everything was exposed, the Larson family might very well be vanquished. Left with no other choice, Finn Taylor left with his wife. If getting the house will make you happier, I'll transfer number 1 Pacific Heights to you. Sigh. Diane Taylor sighed. She had no idea why the relationship between the couple had suddenly deteriorated to this point when they had been so loving just days ago. After a few hours, the couple returned. Neither of them looked good. To tell the truth, neither of them wanted this transfer of ownership. It seemed as though they had just split their matrimonial assets and were getting a divorce. This created a conflict between the couple. However, Linda James was over the moon. She rushed up. Where's the property deed? Let me take a look at it. Linda James snatched it from her daughter and analyzed it. When she saw her daughter's name clearly printed on the property deed, she leapt with joy. Not bad, not bad. Finn Taylor, take a good look at this. This house is our family's now. If you dare to rebuke me in the future, you'll be the one who has to scram. Finn Taylor shrugged and asked Linda James, does this house have nothing to do with me in the future? Of course not. Does your name even appear on the property deed? Oh, then I won't need to pay for the property's management fees in the future. Of course. Oh right, how much does it cost? At the mention of money, the glint in Linda James's eyes suddenly disappeared. Not much, just about $150,000 a year. $150,000. Linda James jumped up. Why is it so expensive? I can buy an apartment with that money. How's that possible? Why not? Why don't you take a look around you and see where you are? This is number 1 Pacific Heights. $150,000. Why don't you rob a bank? If I don't pay up, will they chase me out? What can they do to me now that I have this property deed? Oh, you can try your luck. It's the Taylor family of Chicago backing this house. The Taylor family of Chicago was, of course, the Taylor family of Peregrine Hall. They had dealings in all industries. Even the most luxurious villa on Pacific Heights in San Francisco was under their control. Those words clearly scared Linda James. If it had been any other family, she would have lambasted them all the same. However, she dared not say a word about such a prominent family like the Taylor family. All she could do was flare up at Finn Taylor while at home. When facing anyone else, she became no different from a coward. All right, I'll be generous. Maybe I'll let you stay here in the future, but you have to pay for the management fees. Finn Taylor rolled his eyes at her. He didn't even know what to say. However, he didn't object to it. Anyway, nothing had changed. Although he had transferred ownership to his wife, he had bought this house for her anyway. Besides, this was just a house that didn't cost much to him. Finn Taylor could buy thousands more if he really wanted to. For some reason, he couldn't get used to sleeping in the guest room once again after moving out of his wife's room. He had slept in the guest room for 3 years, but it somehow felt as though he had slept beside his significant other for 3 years. Yvette Larson lay on the bed, unable to go to sleep. She tossed and turned around, realizing that she was staying on one side of the red line. Why, I've been used to having the whole bed to myself, and it has only been a few days. Why have I already gotten used to sleeping on only one side of the bed? The second day, Finn Taylor was awoken by the sounds of car honks. The entire family including Diane Taylor walked out in annoyance. Who is making such a din this early in the morning? They spotted a Ferrari parked in front of number 1 Pacific Heights. It was worth at least $150,000. Which bast is making so much noise this early in the morning? They must be crazy. Linda James didn't even try to understand the situation before lashing out. Then, Finn Taylor spotted Kimberly Gold stomping out from the driver's seat. "You old hag, you'd better watch your words. I might just ask Finn Taylor to beat you up." Finn Taylor. Linda James was stunned. This young brat is Finn Taylor's friend. The person in question glanced at Kimberly Gold and asked, "Why are you here?" Kimberly Gold patted the Ferrari by her side. $150,000. Finn Taylor was stunned for a moment before returning from his trance. "Instead of giving me cash, the Gold family chose to give me a luxury car that's worth $150,000 instead." "What? I picked this out myself. Hurry up and get in the car. Bring me on a joyride." Yvette Larson glared at Kimberly Gold, her eyes filled with murderous intent. She seemed to be saying with her deadly glare that she'd get a divorce from her husband if he dared to get into the car. Finn Taylor couldn't help but feel helpless. Who are you? What's your relationship to Finn Taylor? Linda James lashed out as she pointed at her son-in-law. "No wonder you've dared to rebuke me nowadays. You've gotten to know such a shady young brat." Linda James had never held back with her words. She didn't care if that shady young brat she was talking about was right in front of her. In an instant, Kimberly Gold exploded. "How dare you call me a shady young brat? I'm not done with you." Linda James wasn't the slightest bit shaken. "You know that Finn Taylor is married, but you're still trying to seduce him. What are you if not a shady young brat?" "Good. Kimberly Gold will remember your words. I'll make sure you'll regret them." Kimberly Gold was fuming. "I'm the princess of the Gold family's third branch. How dare someone call me a shady young brat?" What's your name?" Yvette Larson was stunned when she heard Kimberly Gold's name. "I'm the eldest daughter of Grandpa's third branch, Kimberly Gold. Third Master Gold is my grandpa." Kimberly Gold didn't hide anything and boldly announced her identity. In an instant, the entire Larson family was dumbfounded. Linda James wanted to say something, but her daughter stopped her. "I'm sorry, my mother didn't recognize you. I'm sorry if she offended you with her words." The Gold family of Chicago wasn't one to be trifled with. It was one of the top families in Chicago. Even though the third branch wasn't the main branch of the family, their status was still much higher than the Larson family of San Francisco. "Sure, I can let this go. I'll forgive her if you let him bring me on a joyride today." Kimberly Gold pointed at Finn Taylor, clearly threatening the other. At that, Yvette Larson was infuriated. "How dare this woman threaten to take my husband away? Yvette, just agree to her request. We can't afford to offend the Gold family." Yet, Linda James spoke up just then. She tried to persuade her daughter to agree to Kimberly Gold's request. Yvette Larson harumphed and turned to leave. Although she hadn't said anything, she had given a silent agreement. Linda James didn't dare to remain at the door for fear that Kimberly Gold would continue putting her on the spot. Then, they left. Only Finn Taylor and Kimberly Gold were left at the door. "Is this fun?" Finn Taylor was speechless. "I'm already treading on thin ice when it comes to my relationship with my wife, and Kimberly Gold is clearly fanning the flames. However, she's not doing this on purpose. After all, she doesn't know about what has happened between us. Hurry up and take me on a joyride." Kimberly Gold didn't care the slightest bit about what was going on with the other's family. She simply took a seat in the front passenger seat. Finn Taylor was helpless. "This brat would probably kick up a huge fuss if I don't bring her out today." As soon as Finn Taylor took his seat, Kimberly Gold put an address into the GPS. "Take me there." Finn Taylor glanced at the address. It was Crystal Restaurant. It's a well-known restaurant in San Francisco. What is this brat trying to do? However, he didn't refuse. Anyway, the most important thing was to chase this brat out of his house for now. Very quickly, Finn Taylor and Kimberly Gold arrived at the restaurant. She led him to the top floor, where there was a private kitchen. While there wasn't a chef here, many ingredients were prepared. Crystal Restaurant would get whatever one requested. "Grandpa said that money is money. Our family still owes you a favor for what you did for us yesterday, so I've decided to cook a meal for you to repay your kindness." The moment Finn Taylor heard that, he couldn't help but wonder if he was going to be poisoned to death. But unexpectedly, Kimberly Gold seemed to be at home in the kitchen. It seemed like she hadn't been joking when she said that she knew how to cook. "You really know how to cook?" "Of course. Do you feel honored? I bet you've never been treated like this in the Larson family. In a family, men should be breadwinners while women take care of the family. You'll conquer the world outside, and I'll cook for you at home. Don't you think that I'm better than your wife?" Finn Taylor rolled his eyes. "No, I think that my wife is better." Kimberly Gold was fuming. He's been bullied and humiliated in the Larson family, yet he's still so willing to live there. How am I any worse than Yvette Larson? "Oh right, my grandpa's company is probably going to open soon. We'll probably be quite a force to be reckoned with in San Francisco. This is the invitation from my grandpa. When the time comes, make sure you attend the grand opening." Finn Taylor glanced at the invitation. There is much more to this invitation than what meets the eye. Although the Gold family wants to settle down in San Francisco, they have been met with quite a lot of opposition from the other families in the city. But those families haven't succeeded, and it'll only be a matter of time before the Gold family settles down in San Francisco. Under such circumstances, it's only natural for all the other families to suck up to the Gold family. After all, the latter is much more powerful than any of them. This includes even the Sanders family. However, I have received an invitation. Moreover, the invitation clearly states that I'd be seated at the host's table, which holds even more significance. Finn Taylor glanced at Kimberly Gold and nodded. "Thank Third Master Gold for me." When Finn Taylor returned home, his wife was sitting on the sofa. Seeing that he had entered, she said blandly, "There's a meeting in the office tomorrow." With that, she turned to leave. Finn Taylor watched his spouse's departing figure helplessly. "I want to explain myself, but there are some things I don't know how to put into words. Once I tell her about these matters, all my previous efforts will have been in vain. In fact, I might even bring more trouble to the Larson family. But if I choose not to tell her, I'm afraid that Yvette will get impatient and divorce me one day. There's a meeting in the office tomorrow." Finn Taylor was a little dazed. Yvette had waited for me in the living room just to tell me that. It seems like she still has feelings for me. It's just that she is too embarrassed to say so. The next day, Finn Taylor's family headed to the office together. That shocked Finn Taylor. After all, Francis Larson and Linda James rarely headed to the office. It seemed like there was something important the family wanted to discuss. Once everyone arrived, Joseph Larson jumped straight in. In a few days' time, Third Master Gold will be opening his company in San Francisco. Many families have already gone to visit him to score an invitation. Of course, the Larson family should participate too. Which of you is confident in winning an invitation from the Gold family? Everyone in the Larson family glanced at each other when they heard the old master's question. However, not a single person dared to take up the challenge. After all, they knew that even the most prominent family in San Francisco, Sanders family, was nothing when compared to the Gold family. What was the Larson family when compared to them? In the past, the Larson family had barely made the cut as a second-tier family in San Francisco. It was only because they had been associated with the Sullivan family of New York that they had gotten some recognition lately. But that recognition didn't mean much when it came to dealing with the Gold family. Hence, it was possible that anyone who went to visit the Gold family would be chased away at the gate. That would be humiliating. Who would agree to that? Because no one had spoken up, they turned their eyes to Quince Larson. After all, he was the Larson family's eldest grandson. In the past, he would have represented the Larson family on such occasions. But this time, it was obvious that Quince Larson didn't want to embarrass himself. "Why are you all looking at me? Are you all from the Larson family too?" Quince Larson lashed out while turning to his cousin. "Oh right, Yvette, aren't you the one in charge of the Larson Corporation's biggest project? Everyone out there knows you but not me. Why don't you go instead?" Yvette Larson glared at her cousin. She didn't want to go. On the one hand, she didn't have much confidence in succeeding. On the other hand, Finn Taylor was involved. The thought of how Kimberly Gold had snatched her husband from right under her nose infuriated her. "Quince Larson, don't drag me in just because you don't want to go." Although Yvette Larson hadn't agreed to her cousin's suggestion, everyone in the Larson family turned to her. "That's right, Yvette Larson is the one helming the most important project now. She's benefiting so much from the Larson family, so shouldn't she do something for the family? Yvette, you're on good terms with the Sullivan family. Can you see if Mr. Sullivan can help us out with this?" Joseph Larson spoke up and forced his granddaughter to take up this task. "Grandpa, it's not that we can't ask for favors. But do you think I'm so important to the Sullivan family? We can't keep asking them for favors." Finn Taylor cut in just then. "Grandpa, I might have a way of getting the Larson family an invitation. Without me, the Gold family probably won't invite our family." Finn Taylor didn't want the Larson family to bully his wife, so he decided to step in. Everyone couldn't help but sneer. "We would believe it if anyone else in the Larson family said that they would score an invitation for the family, but there is no way Finn Taylor can. Think about your reputation in San Francisco. What will the Gold family think of us if we send you there? They'll definitely think that we look down on them. Stay out of this." Unexpectedly, It was Yvette Larson who had said so. Wait a minute, everyone was stunned. Haven't Yvette Larson and Finn Taylor always been on good terms? Why does it seem like they're having a cold war now? I'll get you an invitation. Finn Taylor was suddenly prideful, as though he wasn't going to let his wife doubt him. He knew that their relationship was slowly getting distant. If he didn't step in to help his wife this time, their relationship would truly be over. Yvette Larson wanted to say something, but there was a sudden knock on the door. The old master's secretary entered and said, "Chairman, Ms. Kimberly Gold of the Gold family is here." In an instant, the entire Larson family stood up in awe. Kimberly Gold was the granddaughter third Master Gold doted on the most. Why is she here? This was Yvette Larson's first reaction. She glanced at Kimberly Gold menacingly, but the latter gave no thought to that. With a thud, the latter slammed the invitation on the table. Table number 11, there are 10 seats. Give me the name list 1 day in advance. You'll have to register before going in. Kimberly Gold spoke as though she was an elder speaking to her juniors. Yet, nobody in the Larson family dared to say a thing. Even the old master Joseph Larson was terribly respectful. "Ms. Gold, we were intending on paying a visit. How could we trouble you to make this trip down?" Kimberly Gold didn't even spare the old master a glance and simply turned to Finn Taylor. However, she felt that it wasn't the right time and place to say whatever she wanted, so she held herself back. As soon as Kimberly Gold left the room, the entire family exploded. The Larson family had gotten an invitation from the Gold family, an entire table, no less. Although they weren't in the first 10 tables, it didn't matter. Then, Quince Larson turned to Finn Taylor and sneered. "Finn Taylor, do you remember what you said? Didn't you say that the Gold family wouldn't give us an invitation if not for you?" "What was that?" Finn Taylor was indifferent. "It's true. Without me, the Gold family never would have given the Larson family an invitation." Finn Taylor wasn't lying. The Gold family never would have taken notice of such an insignificant family like the Larson family, much less get Kimberly Gold to send the invitation here personally. It was because of him this happened, but the Larson family was so arrogant that they thought so highly of themselves. "Hee. In a few days, we'll be attending the grand opening." "Of course, you won't." "Oh right, didn't you say that you're very brilliant? I guess you should be able to attend it too, right? I expect to see you at the grand opening then." Finn Taylor shrugged. "Of course, I've already received my invitation." PFF'd. Quince Larson was bent over in laughter. "See, can you stop bragging? I almost believed you." "Fine, let's see if you'll really turn up there. Why don't we make a bet? If you really show up there, I'll kneel down to you." "Sure, if I don't go, I'll kneel down to you." Quince Larson was confident in his own victory. "It's the high and mighty Gold family we're talking about. Even I don't have any connections to the Gold family. How could a useless matrilocal son-in-law be invited by the Gold family?" He glanced at the invitation on the desk. The thought of Kimberly Gold's cold gaze earlier made Quince Larson rage. Yesterday, Finn went out with Kimberly Gold. What for? Besides, how did he buy number 1 Pacific Heights? Why had Kimberly Gold given Finn a luxury car worth $150,000? Questions flooded Yvette Larson's mind. In the end, she came to a conclusion: a divorce. Yvette Larson glanced at her husband, tears filling her eyes. She wanted to know if he still loved her. Why were we still fine in New York? Even while we were at the Larson family's ancestral shrine, everything had been fine. Yet, he had visited La Feria Club that very night. Fine. Even if you were forced to go to La Feria Club and didn't get involved in any shady dealings, what about Kimberly Gold? Why would the Gold family's young lady give you such an expensive car, and why would she send an invitation to the Larson Corporation just because of you? What is this? Is she trying to provoke me? Or do you mean that you're already in a relationship with her? Yvette Larson held her grievances in and said nothing. It isn't the time to mention a divorce. If I were to do so now, the Gold family would definitely retract their invitation. Grandpa would definitely make me take the blame then. Yvette Larson clenched her fists tightly, swearing to herself that she would never lose to Kimberly Gold. The day of the Gold Corporation's grand opening was finally here. In the end, the 10 people chosen were Joseph Larson, Francis Larson, Frederick Larson, Franklin Larson, Linda James, Hillary Stone, Yvette Larson, Quince Larson, Eleanor Larson, and Quinn Larson. Of course, Finn Taylor had been excluded. Each of them was dressed to the nines and walked in as though they were big shots. But to their surprise, they realized that they didn't know anyone inside. To be honest, the Gold family hadn't invited many prominent families from San Francisco. Those who were here were families on the same level as the Sanders family. In fact, Most were friends of the family from Chicago. They were all prominent figures in the business world, unlike the Larson family, which never even had the chance to interact with the Gold family in the past. Thankfully, they had a whole table to themselves and didn't need to squeeze in with others. Otherwise, it would have been much more awkward for the Larson family. But Quince Larson was no longer humble once they sat down. He glanced around and asked, "Why don't I see Finn Taylor? That piece of trash made a bet with me, saying that he received an invitation too. I would love to see where he is." PFF'd. Eleanor Larson burst out into laughter. "Brother, you're so funny. Why don't you look around at where we are? Only respectable people like us can be here. What's Finn Taylor? Even if he kneels down and begs the Gold family, they wouldn't let him in." "Haha, you're right, I can't wait for him to kneel down to me." Finn Taylor and Quince Larson had made a bet. If the former didn't show up today, he would have to kneel down before the latter. Now, Quince Larson had already taken in his surroundings. Finn Taylor was nowhere to be found. He was sure of his victory. The chairman's office of the Gold Corporation. Finn Taylor looked at Third Master Gold. "Third Master, this is the last round. You've already lost all your cigarettes and wine to me. What are you going to place on the table this time?" After waking up early that morning, Yvette Larson had headed to the Larson family's residence with her parents to meet the rest of the family. Finn Taylor was the only one left, and Kimberly Gold had picked him up. Quince Larson couldn't find Finn Taylor because the latter was still seated in the chairman's office on the top floor. It would be strange if anyone could find him. When Finn Taylor arrived, Third Master Gold had been playing a game of chess. As such, he told the latter that he understood the game too. Unexpectedly, the old man had dragged him into a game. He even said that he would reward Finn Taylor if the latter won. If the latter lost, he didn't expect Finn Taylor to give him anything since it was just a game. That was how Finn Taylor had won Third Master Gold's valuables after just 2 rounds. Third Master Gold was a competitive player and insisted on one last round. Finn Taylor glanced at the clock. They still had half an hour left until the opening ceremony was enough for one last round. However, he was curious as to what Third Master Gold would bet this time. Half the shares of the Gold Corporation. Finn Taylor was stunned. "I never thought that the old man would stake half of his company." Nonetheless, Finn Taylor didn't know what Third Master Gold was plotting. "So what if I give half of my company to Finn Taylor? He'll get married to Kimberly one day. Then, whatever I give him will be returned to me eventually." With that, the third round of the game began. As soon as it started, Finn Taylor noticed something amiss. He realized that Third Master Gold's skills seemed very different from what he had shown in the previous 2 rounds. He had clearly been hiding his true skills in the past 2 rounds. He was only showing off his true skills now. As such, the 2 men went head to head as if their lives depended on it. Kimberly Gold understood the game well. She stood by the side, observing the game carefully. Her emotions were tied to the game too. This game could be said to be the match of the century. It was extremely intense. Very quickly, half an hour passed. Everyone sat in the banquet hall in confusion. "Hey, why isn't Third Master Gold here yet?" "Yes, it's already time. Did something happen to him?" "That's impossible. It's still peaceful here. Do you think it'd be so peaceful if something happened to him?" The guests threw out their own guesses, but Third Master Gold still didn't show up. At table number 11, Quince Larson glanced at the time and grumbled, "Is that old man dead? Why is he taking so long to show up?" No sooner had he finished his sentence than Joseph Larson shot him a death glare. "Quince Larson, you'd better watch your words. If you cause any trouble, I'll kick you out of the Larson family." The old master knew how important and powerful the Gold family was. If Third Master Gold were to learn of what Quince Larson had just said, he'd definitely make life difficult for the Larson family. This was why Joseph Larson had given his grandson a stern warning. "Third Master Gold is here," someone shouted just then, and the guests saw Third Master Gold walking into the hall. To Third Master Gold's surprise, he realized that he wasn't the only one who had been hiding his true skills. Finn Taylor had been hiding his own skills too. The chapters is up by N0VE Iban. In the end, he had no choice but to surrender to the latter. With that, half of the Gold Corporation now belonged to Finn Taylor. When the Larson family saw Third Master Gold walking in, their faces were filled with disbelief. This was because they saw a man and a young lady on either side of Third Master Gold. The young lady was Third Master Gold's granddaughter Kimberly Gold, while the man was none other than Finn Taylor. At table number 11, the Larson family nearly jumped out of their seats. They were truly shell-shocked. Apart from his granddaughter, there is someone else next to Third Master Gold Finn Taylor. How is that possible? The one who felt the worst was definitely Quince Larson. He had made a bet with Finn Taylor. If Finn Taylor showed up at this ceremony, he would have to kneel before Finn Taylor. It was obvious that he had lost, but Quince Larson couldn't wrap his head around the situation. What's going on? Under everyone's watchful gazes, Third Master Gold, Finn Taylor, and Kimberly Gold took their seats at the host's table. This sight stunned the Larson family even more. Perhaps Finn Taylor struck the lottery and managed to attend this ceremony. Perhaps he is even here to serve Third Master Gold as a servant. All this was plausible, but it's impossible for him to have any right to sit at the host's table. Who is that young man? As expected, many guests started discussing Finn Taylor's identity right as he took his seat. You're all blind. The other person standing by Third Master Gold's side is his granddaughter, so who do you think that man is? Do you mean that he's Third Master Gold's grandson-in-law? I'm afraid so. No wonder. That man looks presentable and smart, he's so suave. The Larson family heard all those praises of Finn Taylor. TCH, presentable. He's clearly ugly as hell. That's right, smart. He's nothing but a useless matrilocal son-in-law. That person must be stupid. Suave. He's probably never seen Finn Taylor cooking and cleaning. Quince Larson and Eleanor Larson continuously put Finn Taylor down to calm themselves. But just then, Joseph Larson seemed to have realized something. Yvette, what's with Finn Taylor? How does he know Third Master Gold? You seem to have gotten into a conflict with him lately. Hearing all the other guests praising Finn Taylor and Kimberly Gold as a perfect couple made Yvette Larson feel all sorts of discomfort all over. She didn't want to answer her grandpa's question. Grandpa, wasn't this what you guys wanted to see? Joseph Larson was thrown off guard. It's true that the whole Larson family looks down on Finn Taylor. If not for the late old master's arrangement, we would have chased him out of the family a long time ago. But now, Finn Taylor is standing right next to Third Master Gold. The Larson family can't afford to ignore or look down on him anymore. Just then, Kimberly Gold picked up a glass of wine and headed toward the Larson family. Of course, her actions drew everyone's attention. They clearly saw Kimberly Gold stopping at table number 11. Very quickly, everyone started asking each other who the guests seated there were. However, it seemed like nobody knew them. It was only when they asked a family which was straddled between the top tier and second tier in San Francisco did they learn that it was just a second-tier family in San Francisco, the Larson family. But none of them dared to underestimate the Larson family either. After all, they had received an invitation from the Gold family. If the Gold family gave them a boost, they could very well become the top family in the whole of San Francisco. Which of you is Quince Larson? Come with me. The chapters is up by N0VE Iban. In an instant, everyone present heard Quince Larson's name. Who's Quince Larson? Why does he have the honor of being called? However, the answer they got was, he is the Larson family's eldest grandson but is a good-for-nothing. He had never really done anything for the Larson Corporation, yet he had stirred up a whole lot of trouble in San Francisco. The guests couldn't help but stare at Quince Larson in disdain. Of course, Quince Larson knew exactly why Kimberly Gold was calling for him. His gaze was filled with agony, but what could he do? He had no choice but to follow Kimberly Gold to the host's table. Please remain silent, everyone. Kimberly Gold clapped, and the whole hall fell into pin-drop silence. This was what the Gold family's young lady was capable of. Today, we have guests from San Francisco and Chicago attending our grand opening today. Thank you. Today, we have prepared a performance. As soon as they heard that, the guests all turned their eyes to the host's table. There weren't any celebrities there. Is Kimberly Gold going to perform? Although everyone there was older than her, they weren't worthy of being her audience. Ms. Gold, you're being too kind. We're here to sincerely congratulate the Gold Corporation. Yes, we're just some old fogies. It's no trouble at all. Ms. Gold, are you going to perform for us? We can't let you do that. That's right, Ms. Gold. Why don't I perform a song for everyone instead? No, I'll let my daughter dance for everyone. My son knows magic tricks. In an instant, all the guests were trying to show off their talents. They simply wanted to use this opportunity to get in Third Master Gold's good books. If they caught his eye, it could very well become their family's golden ticket. Kimberly Gold shook her head. Thank you all for your kind intentions, but I'm not the one performing. We've already taken care of that. As she said so, she looked toward Quince Larson. Do you remember your bet? Are you going to go back on your word in front of everyone? Breaking a deal with Finn Taylor didn't mean much since he was just a good-for-nothing matrilocal son-in-law. However, it was a big deal doing so at Third Master Gold's party. If he were to do so, Third Master Gold could very well kick him out of the business circle in San Francisco. In the end, Quince Larson had no choice but to give in. He slowly bent his knees and dropped down onto the ground. There were many guests who had whipped out their phones to film this scene. Quince Larson only felt utter humiliation at this point in time. Even Joseph Larson's expression looked awful. He had thought that the Larson family was now a top-tier family in San Francisco because they had received an invitation from the Gold family. That also meant that the Larson family's status and power would only rise after this banquet. But the Larson family had now become a joke in the entire San Francisco because of a bet between Finn Taylor and Quince Larson. This photo had completely ruined the Larson family's reputation. There was no way of ever coming back from this. It's all Finn Taylor's fault. If he hadn't said it, Kimberly Gold never would have known about the bet. Joseph Larson clenched his fists and gave orders to Yvette Larson. After this banquet, bring Finn Taylor to the Larson family's residence. I want him to kneel down and apologize to us. Joseph Larson was too overbearing and too arrogant. He thought highly of the Larson family and looked down on Finn Taylor. Currently, the whole world thought highly of Finn Taylor and thought of him as a legendary figure. Only the Larson family dared to boss him around. It was true that Finn Taylor had truly tolerated a lot over the past 3 years, but had they not realized how much he had changed recently? Perhaps the Larson family had realized that. It was just that they chose to ignore it because Finn Taylor had never rebuked them nor fought back whenever they bullied him. After returning home from the banquet, Yvette Larson remembered her grandpa's words and was about to tell her husband about it. However, she didn't know how to put it into words. After all, Quince Larson had brought this upon himself. In the past, I would have stood on my husband's side and rebuked Grandpa for him. However, I tacitly agreed to Grandpa's ridiculous request because of my current relationship with Finn. What Yvette Larson couldn't accept was the realization that everything she had came from her spouse. All her achievements were actually Finn Taylor's. Unexpectedly, she had already grown completely reliant on her husband. Do you have something to tell me? Finn Taylor saw that his wife had already paced in front of him several times. He was sure that she was trying to tell him something. Did you purposely get Quince Larson to kneel before you in front of so many people? Finn Taylor nodded without making an excuse. Do you know that doing so won't change Quince Larson's position in the family? Grandpa will just think that you humiliated the Larson family. He'll push all the blame to me. Grandpa said that he wants me to go to the Larson family's residence with you. He wants you to apologize to the rest of the family. Finn Taylor met his wife's gaze and asked, so you also think that I was wrong? Yvette Larson chose to keep her silence. In an instant, Finn Taylor felt his heart fall. Forget it. He turned and returned to the guest room without arguing with Yvette Larson. Yvette Larson felt terrible too. Does he think that I feel good about this? I'll have to bear the brunt of Grandpa's anger, but you're still blaming me. Yvette Larson was a little dejected as she headed out to meet her best friend. She wanted to get herself drunk. Diane Taylor walked into Finn Taylor's room, and she pointed at the bed. Can I sit down? He nodded but was a little confused. What does this little brat want? After sitting down, Diane Taylor stared straight into her employer's eyes. Mr. Taylor, why didn't you explain yourself? Finn Taylor was stunned. You believe me? Finn Taylor thought that it was strange. All of the current evidence pointed to him going to La Feria Club to hook up with women and even being in an affair with Kimberly Gold. Everyone in the family suspected him of this, but Diane Taylor believed that he was innocent and wanted him to explain himself. I believe in your character, Mr. Taylor. There must be some misunderstanding here. I don't know what happened, but I'm sure that you'll be able to clear your name as long as you're willing to explain yourself, Mr. Taylor. Diane Taylor's words moved him. I never expected that a young bratwom I had saved would be the only one who believes in me now. Mr. Taylor, I'll help you pack that bag. As Diane Taylor said that, she stood up and wanted to pick that bag up. But she felt her mind go blank as soon as she stood up. She then fell unconscious and fell to the ground. Finn Taylor was shocked and quickly walked forward to check on her. To his surprise, she had no signs of life. This scared him. He quickly picked the girl up and placed her on his bed. It was an emergency situation. Without giving it much thought, he started CPR on Diane Taylor. Finn Taylor was exerting quite a lot of strength, and this had caught Linda James's attention. She sneaked over, and the sight stunned her. She clearly saw Finn Taylor's hand on Diane Taylor's chest. She quickly whipped out her phone to take a photo, but what she took a photo of wasn't that scene. It was a photo of Finn Taylor kissing Diane Taylor on the lips. Ah, shameless. Linda James's blood boiled as she looked at the photo. Unfortunately, Diane Taylor woke up just then. Finn Taylor picked her up and ran out. Although she was now awake, she was weak because she had lost all signs of life earlier. He had to send Diane Taylor to the hospital right away. But Linda James simply saw it as Finn Taylor trying to escape now that he had been caught. That annoyed her even more. Where are you bitches going? I really didn't think that you'd dare to keep your slutty mistress under the same roof. See, didn't I say that Diane Taylor was your mistress? Nobody believed me and even wanted me to apologize to her. I have solid evidence of you guys behaving intimately with each other. You're dead meat. Linda James's words were terrible. If not for the fact that he was in a hurry, Finn Taylor would have argued it out with her. However, Diane Taylor's life was on the line now. Finn Taylor wasn't going to let this girl die. She was the only one who believed in him. He slammed down on his accelerator and sped toward the city's best hospital. After several hours, Yvette Larson finally returned home. Unfortunately, she was dead drunk. It was her best friend who had sent her back. When compared to Yvette Larson, Clarine Landon was still rather sober. With Clarine Landon's help, Linda James brought her daughter back to her room. Linda James tried to wake her daughter up, but the latter was already in a deep sleep. With no choice, Linda James could only decide to leave this matter to the next day. But after coming out of the room, Linda James couldn't hold herself back. She turned to Clarine Landon and said, "Clarine, I have something to tell you." With that, Linda James showed Clarine Landon the photo of Finn Taylor kissing Diane Taylor. "Look at this. I took this photo just now, and I even saw Finn Taylor putting his hand on her chest. Then, that bast couple got afraid of me and left. They still haven't returned. Do you think we should tell Yvette about this?" Clarine Landon stared at the photo in disbelief. Finn Taylor had once been her idol, but after witnessing him walking into La Feria Club, she had lost all interest in this man. Now, she felt only disgust for this man. "Auntie, send that photo to me. I'll find a good time to tell Yvette about this. Don't show it to her. I'm afraid that Yvette might do something silly out of shock." Under Clarine Landon's persuasion, Linda James sent the photo to the former before deleting it from her own phone. However, Clarine Landon took this seriously. She decided that she was going to have a good chat with Finn Taylor. She wanted to know why he had gone to La Feria Club while treating his wife so well. He never should have lied to everyone and brought his mistress into the family by hiring her as their helper. "Do you know how deeply you've hurt Yvette?" Yvette Larson was so drunk that she slept in until the very next day. Finn Taylor had gone out with his mistress and hadn't returned since. In an instant, it seemed like their family had fallen apart. Just as Yvette Larson woke up the next day, her husband happened to return home. The couple glanced at each other without speaking. Linda James didn't know how to feel. "I should be overjoyed to see my daughter's relationship with Finn Taylor breaking down. However, the latter found himself a mistress and is getting a divorce as a victor in the process. Thankfully, I had been smart enough to request for Finn Taylor to transfer ownership of the house to my daughter. Even if they are to get a divorce now, this house would be our family's." Finn Taylor returned and was about to head out again with Diane Taylor's daily necessities. Upon seeing that, Linda James gritted her teeth. She really wanted to ask if he had fallen out of love with her daughter. But she bit her tongue and held herself back at the thought of how crestfallen her daughter had been last night. She was afraid that her words would trigger Yvette Larson. In the end, Finn Taylor left. What Yvette Larson hadn't expected was her grandpa paying them a personal visit not long after Finn Taylor left. Joseph Larson looked around and asked, "Why don't I see Finn Taylor around?" In the past 3 years, Joseph Larson had never thought much of his grandson-in-law. Yvette Larson had already guessed why her grandfather had made a personal trip here and was even asking about her husband. This definitely has something to do with the Gold family's banquet. Finn Taylor embarrassed the entire Larson family by making Quince Larson kneel down before him in front of all the top families of San Francisco. That isn't all. The Gold family's attitude toward the Larson family has caused many other families to look down on them now. The Larson family had been in great distress for the past few days. Otherwise, the old master never would have taken the initiative to make a trip to No. 1 Pacific Heights to look for Finn Taylor given his personality. He's not at home. In front of Finn Taylor, Linda James was like a tigress who wanted to swallow Finn Taylor whole. But in front of Joseph Larson, she was like a mouse. Joseph Larson sneered. He was annoyed that Finn Taylor wasn't around when he had already made an effort to come all the way here. However, that wasn't within his control. "Forget it, since he isn't here, I'll just talk to you guys." Yvette Larson, Did you forget about what I told you that day? I told you to come to the Larson family's residence with Finn Taylor. I waited for you for an entire day yesterday. Why didn't you come? But since you guys didn't come, I decided to make the trip here. I'm giving you a week. If you guys don't mend the relationship between the Gold family and the Larson family, I'm chasing your whole family out of the Larson family. You're all traitors. Joseph Larson was vicious with his words, even calling them traitors. Even after the old master left, the Larson family felt a stone weighing down on their hearts. A week to mend their relationship with the Gold family. It was an impossible task, given these three family members' capabilities. There was only one possibility: Finn Taylor had to do it. But nobody was willing to say so. After settling all of Diane Taylor's matters, Finn Taylor returned home that afternoon. He felt that it was strange that his wife was still at home and not in the office. Why haven't you gone to the office? Yvette Larson hesitated for a moment before finally saying, Grandpa came today. Finn Taylor gave it some thought. Does he want me to mend the relationship with the Gold family? His spouse didn't reply to him, but Finn Taylor could tell that he had hit the bullseye. Do you really think that I was wrong? Don't you think that the Larson family should be punished for treating you that way? Recently, Finn Taylor had been heartbroken because his wife had started having distrust toward him. He felt that Yvette Larson should know him best. No matter what outsiders say about me, you should be on my side. Do you know that your distrust in me hurts me the most? You weren't wrong, but I'm in a tight spot too. Alright, I'll bring you to the Gold family, and I can get Third Master Gold to admit that the Gold family and Larson family are good friends. Are you really on such good terms with the Gold family? Finn Taylor hadn't finished his sentence before his wife cut in. Yvette Larson thought that her husband only knew Kimberly Gold and that perhaps they were just friends. However, she had never expected him to be so close to the Gold family. He could make a decision for Third Master Gold. Can you stop being unreasonable? What do you want me to do? Do you think I'm being unreasonable? Right, I'm being terribly unreasonable now. What do you want me to do? I can't help you, but I can't not help you. Don't you think you're being unreasonable now? You're right, I'm being unreasonable since you think so. There was no result from Finn Taylor and Yvette Larson's conversation. The couple simply returned to their respective rooms with pent-up anger. After returning to his room, Finn Taylor realized that he had received a message. It was from Diane Taylor. Mr. Taylor, I think there are some things I have to say as a woman. Even though I know that you're innocent, I'm sure that your wife doesn't feel good about you going to a place like La Feria Club. All women hope that their husbands will love them forever. Listen to me. Once you go home, have a good chat with Sister Yvette and apologize to her. Once you get past this misunderstanding, your relationship will get better. Couples always make up eventually. Conflicts get worse with time, and your relationship will deteriorate with time too. Finn Taylor put his phone down and sighed. Then, he headed to the kitchen and made a bowl of pasta. He plated it and knocked on his wife's door. Seeing that it was her husband at the door, Yvette Larson tried to shut the door. But Finn Taylor had already squeezed his way in. Here, have some pasta. I'm not going to eat it. If you don't eat it, you won't have any energy to fight with me. Have some of it. We can continue with our argument after you're done. Although Yvette Larson was slightly reluctant, the bowl of pasta her husband had cooked smelled too fragrant. As such, she decided to continue their conversation only after eating. Finn Taylor couldn't help but find his wife adorable while she ate that bowl of pasta. He realized that he had been too silly. Why am I even fighting with her? It's not like she really wants to be unreasonable. She just wants to be loved. If I listened to Diane Taylor, we might have made up a long time ago. However, their relationship had indeed improved because of this bowl of pasta. Finn Taylor didn't mention the Gold family to his spouse again. Yvette Larson had already talked about it, he would simply have to get it done. At the Larson family's ancestral shrine, Joseph Larson paid his respects to his ancestors, while Quince Larson kneeled down before them. Do you know your mistake now? Joseph Larson questioned his grandson. Grandpa, I didn't do anything wrong. Finn Taylor was the one who set me up. Even up until now, Quince Larson still didn't think he had done anything wrong. It was exactly this personality of his that Joseph Larson hated. A man who was primed for success could argue about his innocence in front of outsiders, but there were some mistakes he had to admit to in front of his own family. While Joseph Larson had bossed Finn Taylor around at number 1 Pacific Heights, he had admitted to his mistake in front of his ancestors. Unfortunately, he didn't see that in his grandson. If you had changed this personality of yours, I'd have handed the company over to you a long time ago. But look at you. How can I rest assured after handing it over to you? I'm afraid that you'll bring the whole Larson family down. Kneel here until you understand what you've done wrong. Joseph Larson left dejectedly. The next day, Finn Taylor was about to head to the Gold family's residence. However, he ran into Clarine Landon at the foot of Pacific Heights. Without any hesitation, she hopped into Finn Taylor's car. Let's go to a Starbucks in town. I have something to tell you. Finn Taylor's expression turned dark. Does this lass think she knows me that well? How dare she order me around? But Finn Taylor didn't pick a fight with her and simply drove her to a Starbucks. Let's see what this brat has to tell me. A cup of latte and another cup of green tea. Clarine Landon made an order for both of them. When the drinks arrived, Clarine Landon placed the cup of green tea in front of her best friend's husband. Come on, drink some green tea and have a taste of how bitter it is. There's more to what Clarine is saying. Finn Taylor frowned. What do you mean? What do I mean? That should be my question to you. Finn Taylor, could you get any more shameless? You even brought your lover into the house. What do you take Yvette for? With that, Clarine Landon took out her phone and slammed it down on the table. Finn Taylor picked it up and took a look. It was none other than the photo that Linda James had taken. Don't you dare delete it. I have 100 backup copies of it. Finn Taylor was speechless. He had never expected the other to play such games with him. I had no intention of deleting the photo. Come with me. Finn Taylor threw a few $20 bills on the table. Then, he dragged Clarine Landon out and threw her into the car. After that, he slammed down on the accelerator and sped off. Clarine Landon was still screaming in the car. Finn Taylor, let me out. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to silence the only witness? I'm telling you that Yvette knows the password to my cloud account. If I die, she'll definitely go into my account. Then, she'll see everything. You won't be able to hide what you've done. Clarine Landon struggled frantically, acting as though Finn Taylor had kidnapped her against her will. Finn Taylor merely rolled his eyes at her. The car rolled to a stop, and Clarine Landon glanced around, realizing that Finn Taylor had brought her to a hospital. Why did you bring me to a hospital? Oh, I know, you want to cremate me here. Clarine Landon was really a fool. She thought that Finn Taylor was going to cremate her here after killing her. That way, nobody would be able to find her. But Finn Taylor ignored her and dragged her into the hospital. Along the way, Clarine Landon kept screaming for help, saying that she had been kidnapped. In the end, Finn Taylor merely allayed their fears by saying that Clarine Landon was mentally ill. Seeing that nobody cared about her, she feared for her life. I'm done for. With that, Finn Taylor forcefully dragged her to the hospital's third floor. Then, he pushed her into a ward. She was about to lash out at Finn Taylor, but the sight stunned her. She saw Diane Taylor lying on the bed, with all sorts of machines attached to her. There were 2 doctors giving her a checkup by the side. Seeing that someone had entered, the doctors glanced over and nodded at Finn Taylor. Mr. Taylor, your CPR saved Ms. Taylor's life. She's now out of critical condition. Have you found the cause? Yes, it was an allergic reaction. Ms. Taylor is deathly allergic to peanuts. We found some remnants of peanut butter in her stomach. Finn Taylor nodded. Thank you, Dr. Landon, Dr. James. The 2 doctors left, and Finn Taylor turned to his wife's best friend. Do you know why I kissed her now? Even up until now, Clarine Landon was in disbelief. Do you mean that you were actually doing CPR? Oh right, Auntie Linda said that your hands were on her. Oh, that was CPR. Clarine Landon blushed as she connected the dots. She had already lashed out at Finn Taylor and Diane Taylor countless times in her heart since last night, but it turned out to be a misunderstanding. They were innocent. Don't tell me that all of this is just an act. Why don't I put that IV drip on you? Clarine Landon shook her head and chose to trust Finn Taylor and Diane Taylor. There are so many machines and medications in front of me. Could this still be an act? Fine, since you misunderstood me, you must make it up to me. Clarine Landon hugged herself tightly. What do you want to do? Don't think too much. I have no interest in you. You must help me clear my misunderstanding with Yvette. Clarine Landon was a good kid. While she was vengeful, she was willing to admit to her mistakes as well. I'd have kicked up a fuss if you had really found yourself a mistress. But now that it's all a misunderstanding, I'll clear the air for you. Can I ask you another question? What happened at La Feria Club? At the mention of this, Finn Taylor flared up. Clarine, don't tell me that you were the one who took that photo on Yvette's phone. Clarine Landon felt a little embarrassed now that she had been exposed. Seeing how she was behaving, Finn Taylor knew he was right. It seems like I was right. Clarine, Oh Clarine, why don't you think about who saved you when you nearly committed suicide? Is this how you repay your savior? Seeing his attitude, Clarine Landon guessed that she had probably maligned him again. However, she was confused as to why he wasn't willing to explain what had taken place that night to his wife. Forget it, it's alright even if you don't explain yourself. I'll try my best to salvage your relationship. With that, Clarine Landon left. After chatting with Diane Taylor for a while and confirming that she was alright, Finn Taylor left as well. Ellipsis. The Gold family's residence in San Francisco. Third Master Gold was watering the plants. His granddaughter shook her legs in annoyance while sitting by the side, sadness written all over her face. Who provoked our young lady this time? Why are you so unhappy? Although Third Master Gold had already guessed the answer, he still asked that question. Grandpa, when do you think Finn Taylor will get divorced? Kimberly, do you really want to get married to him? He's been married. So what, Grandpa? Think about all the elders in the Gold family. They all abandoned their wives to marry younger women. Finn Taylor is 1,000 times better than them. Besides, if it's a sin to remarry, then those people should have been executed a long time ago. Kimberly Gold had grown up in the prestigious Gold family and had seen all her uncles getting divorced after making a name for themselves. As such, remarriage didn't mean anything to her. I'm not objecting to you marrying Finn Taylor. I'm just afraid that you won't be able to handle him. Kimberly Gold huffed. That's impossible. I'm the Gold family's young lady. Do you really think I won't be able to handle him? Just then, her phone rang. It was Finn Taylor. She leapt up immediately and pointed at her phone. Grandpa, look, Finn Taylor is calling me. Third Master Gold could only shake his head helplessly. Just a second ago, Kimberly said that she could handle Finn Taylor. Just look at you now. Do you really think you'll be able to handle him? Is your grandpa home? The chapters is up by N0VE Iban. Kimberly Gold was over the moon as she picked up the phone, yet Finn Taylor's first words were asking about her grandpa, Third Master Gold. In an instant, she flared up. You haven't met this cutie in a few days. Aren't you going to ask about me? Oh, how have you been doing? Is your grandpa at home? Kimberly Gold had the urge to rage at him, but she was afraid that Finn Taylor would ignore her from then on if she were to do so. Grandpa is at home. Are you looking for him? I'll go over now then. Okay. Kimberly Gold wanted to ask him to bring a gift over for her, but Finn Taylor hung up before she could even complete her sentence. Ding dong. Just then, someone rang the doorbell of the Gold family's residence. Kimberly Gold was stunned. That can't be. That was so quick. Do you mean that Finn Taylor has been waiting here for a long time? She bounced over to open the door, but displeasure clouded her face the moment she opened it. Hey, Kimberly, are you that upset to see Grandpa Carl? Hello, Grandpa Carl. Grandpa is in the garden. The visitor was Carl Gillies, a good friend of Third Master Gold. He had another identity, president of San Francisco's chess club. Carl Gillies had no idea why Kimberly Gold was upset, but he didn't want to provoke her any further. As such, he headed to look for Third Master Gold. Old Bast, why are you in San Francisco? Jerk, how dare you not attend my grand opening when it was right here in San Francisco? TCH, I was on vacation with my granddaughter. How can you compare yourself with my granddaughter? Carl Gillies and Third Master Gold were obviously close friends, and they had started scolding each other the moment they met. Oh right, it's just as well that you're here today. I'll introduce you to someone. I played a few rounds of chess with him recently but lost terribly. Why don't you have a go and see if you're able to win? Carl Gillies' interest was piqued. Although he didn't really think much of Third Master Gold's chess abilities, the latter was still a master. Anyone who could stun him would definitely be well trained too. Tell me where you found him. What awards has he won? Third Master Gold waved him off. He's a celebrity in San Francisco, but he hasn't won any awards. He hasn't won any awards. Carl Gillies was slightly disappointed. Don't tell me that he's just a cheat who won against Third Master Gold with some underhanded tricks. Otherwise, he should have won some awards with his abilities. Why don't you tell me who he is? Why don't I know about such an impressive figure in San Francisco? And you said that he's a celebrity no less. Finn Taylor. Have you heard of him? Carl Gillies thought for a long while but couldn't think of anyone in the chess circle with that name. However, he soon thought of someone with the exact same name. I've heard of this name before, but I don't think you're talking about him. Third Master Gold chortled. We must be talking about the same person then. The matrilocal son-in-law of the Larson family. Carl Gillies spat those words out in disbelief. Third Master Gold chuckled before nodding. It seems like you've really been duped. Perhaps Carl Gillies would have believed him if it had simply been another man with the same name. But if it was the matrilocal son-in-law of the Larson family, Carl Gillies was sure that it wasn't the case. As president of the chess association, he had seen countless chess geniuses. All of them were arrogant and boastful. He was sure that a matrilocal son-in-law like Finn Taylor never fought back nor rebuked Anya couldn't possibly be a chess master. However, Third Master Gold simply chuckled inwardly without rebuking his friend. I can't wait to see the expression on Carl's face when Finn Taylor beats him in a game of chess later on. Ding dong. The doorbell rang once again. This time, Kimberly Gold opened the door to see the one she wanted to see most. She pouted and crossed her arms, asking, "Did you come empty-handed? Shouldn't you have brought a gift?" "A gift?" Finn Taylor was stumped. "Did I ever say that I was going to bring you a gift?" He ignored the young lady and walked straight past her. Humph. Kimberly Gold huffed when she couldn't get what she wanted. Nonetheless, she didn't dare to throw a tantrum at Finn Taylor for fear that he would leave. She brought him to the garden. Seeing that Finn Taylor had arrived, Third Master Gold took the initiative to introduce him. "Finn Taylor, let me introduce you to Carl Gillies, president of San Francisco's Chess Association." "Carl, this is the man I was talking about." Carl Gillies sized Finn Taylor up. The latter is indeed a young man. At his age, I had thought that I was unbeatable in chess. However, I had learned its nuances as I spent more time analyzing the game. Even now that I'm the Chess Association's president, I still feel that I haven't mastered the game. "So you're the one who duped Third Master Gold. How good could you possibly be at chess? Come and play one round with me so I can see just how good you are." Finn Taylor could tell that the other didn't have good intentions, but that didn't matter. "It'd be my honor." The chess pieces were laid out properly on the board. Thinking that he had the high ground, Carl Gillies allowed Finn Taylor to make the first move. Finn Taylor didn't try to hide his skills and went ahead with his first move. When Carl Gillies saw this, he couldn't help but sneer. "He's indeed a novice. I'm certain that Third Master Gold got duped." But less than 5 minutes into the game, Carl Gillies was sweating buckets of cold sweat. He realized that he was on the losing end of the game because he had been too careless at the start of the game. However, "I'll surely be able to turn the tides of the game as long as I pay close attention now." But talk was cheap. It wouldn't be so easy to turn the tables now. In the end, Carl Gillies finally surrendered in less than half an hour. Still, he was reluctant to admit defeat. He felt that he had simply been too careless. "This man is a fraud, and I know it. That's why I couldn't live up to my potential. This game doesn't count. Let's have another round," said Carl Gillies as he set up the board again. Third Master Gold stared at his friend. "You bast, you're such a sore loser." Finn Taylor waved his hand. "That's fine, best of 3. The second round between Finn Taylor and Carl Gillies then began. Just like before, Carl Gillies allowed his opponent to make the first move. But this time, he was paying much closer attention to the board. The game was intense right from the very start. Even Third Master Gold, who was only watching on from the sidelines, was dumbfounded. It had been years since he had watched such an exciting game of chess. But before long, beads of sweat started to fall from Carl Gillies' forehead. He had tried his best, yet he had still fallen on the losing end. He decided to take a guarded risk, sent his pieces toward Finn Taylor's. However, he had no regrets. All of this was just a setup for his final move. Once he made his final move, that would seal his victory. As expected, he saw Finn Taylor falling into his trap. Carl Gillies made his last move and sighed. "You lost." He was delighted. Although he had been suppressed by Finn Taylor from the very beginning, he had managed to win the victory and turn the tides through this setup. It was like the fable of a tiger chasing a young man but was eventually trapped in a cave by the latter. Eventually, that tiger had sent itself to death. Seeing Carl Gillies' last move, Third Master Gold was at a loss for words. The former is indeed a talent. He sacrificed all his other pieces just to earn that eventual victory. Although Finn Taylor is skilled, he is still too young. It seems like he has lost after all. But what confused the two old men was that Finn Taylor didn't feel disappointed about losing at all. Could it be? They thought of only one possibility. Finn Taylor looked up at Carl Gillies and said, "You lost." With that, the former made his last move. This move turned the tables once again. Carl Gillies had lost his advantage. He was the young man who had set up the trap, but he hadn't trapped a tiger. Instead, he trapped a massive dragon. To a dragon, this trap was nothing but a joke. Carl Gillies had been setting up a trap, but so had Finn Taylor. "It looked like you successfully tricked me, but you were the one who fell for my ploy." Carl Gillies dropped the chess pieces in his hands. It was as though he aged by several years at that moment. It wasn't scary to lose a game. What scared him was how he had told his opponent that the latter had lost. It seemed like a joke now. You won. Carl Gillies wasn't a sore loser. He admitted that Finn Taylor had indeed won. Third Master Gold, was it interesting enough? There's no free lunch in this world. Since you watched me play chess, you owe me a favor. There's something I need help with. Third Master Gold glanced at Finn Taylor and said blandly, the Larson family must have sent you here. That's right, the Gold family humiliated the Larson family at the banquet, and now, many other families think badly of us. The Larson family wants me to make amends with you. Third Master Gold narrowed his eyes. To be honest, he didn't want to help Finn Taylor out because his granddaughter liked him. That meant that the Larson family was her rival in love. Why should I help my granddaughter's rivals? Third Master Gold, if I remember correctly, you promised me that I'd have half the shares of Gold Corporation. I'm sure you won't refuse my request for the Gold Corporation to collaborate with the Larson Corporation, right? Third Master Gold never expected that he had fallen into Finn Taylor's trap as well. In normal circumstances, he could have denied it. The company is so big. Do you think I'd really give half of the shares to you just because I said so? However, Carl Gillies was right there. They had been friends for a long time, and he couldn't afford to let his friend find out just how dishonest and untrustworthy he was. Third Master Gold had no choice but to nod. Fine, I'll find a project the Larson family can collaborate on. With his mission completed, Finn Taylor was ready to leave. However, Kimberly Gold refused to let him do so. You're a jerk. You came to ask for a favor, yet you're leaving right away. Do you think you'd get off so easily? The kitchen is there. Go make me a meal. Otherwise, I'll reject the proposal for the collaboration with the Larson family. Even though you and Grandpa each have 50% of the shares, don't you know that I have the final say in the company? Huh, Finn Taylor's face fell. He couldn't help but feel as though Third Master Gold had duped him. He looked at the latter, who merely nodded at him. That's right, I agreed to give you half of the company's shares, but I also promised my granddaughter that she'd have the final say in the company. That also means that my granddaughter has the final say as to whether the Gold family will collaborate with the Larson family. She even has the final say over whether you receive half of the company's shares. Finn Taylor was certain that he had been duped. What? It's not like I've never cooked for you. You've been cooking in the Larson family for 3 years. Can't you even cook a meal for me? Kimberly Gold was displeased and grumbled with her arms akimbo. With no other choice, Finn Taylor could only agree to her demands. What a coincidence. Finn Taylor, why don't you make an extra meal? I'll eat my lunch here too. Carl Gillies was terribly annoyed. As the president of San Francisco's Chess Association, I actually lost to a matrilocal son-in-law. It seems like I'll be able to get back at the latter by making him cook a meal for me. Kimberly Gold felt pleased upon seeing Finn Taylor cook. Yvette Larson, you can make Finn Taylor cook for you, but so can I. Humph, you're no better than me. In the end, Finn Taylor's meal won the Larson family a collaboration with the Gold family. After leaving the Gold family's residence, he headed straight to the Larson family's residence. He wanted to personally inform Joseph Larson about this. More than that, he wanted to warn that old man not to threaten Yvette in the future. If he needed anything, he'd better just look for him instead. At the Larson family's residence, Joseph Larson glanced at his grandson. You've been kneeling for an entire day. Do you know what mistake you made now? Grandpa, I did nothing wrong. Why do you keep insisting that I did something wrong? Do you mean that you're going to give that piece of trash a status now just because he's on good terms with the Gold family? Quince Larson was aggrieved. Grandpa is so biased. You still don't want to admit to your mistake. I judged you wrongly, Quince. Although I told everyone that I'd hand the family over to whoever was the most outstanding, you've always been the most suitable choice in my heart. But now, it seems like I'll have to reconsider my decision. Joseph Larson was serious. The only reason Quince Larson dared to act so rashly in the family was all due to his grandpa's protection. But now, the latter was thinking of choosing another successor. There was no way Quince Larson was going to let that happen. His gaze was cold as he muttered in his heart, Grandpa, it looks like you're abandoning me. Since you're so heartless, don't blame me for being ruthless. He brought his grandpa a glass of water to calm him down. The moment he saw his grandpa finish the glass of water, he strode off. It was all too abrupt. Joseph Larson wanted to stop his grandson and ask him what he was trying to do, but he suddenly felt his whole world shaking. Then, he fainted. Just then, Finn Taylor arrived. Finn Taylor and Quince Larson had barely missed each other. No sooner had Quince Larson left than Finn Taylor arrived. The latter hadn't seen the former, but Quince Larson had noticed the latter walk into the residence. As the latter walked in, what greeted him was the sight of Joseph Larson lying on the ground, gasping for air. Without much thought, Finn Taylor picked the old master up and headed for the hospital. After a thorough checkup, it was revealed that the old man had been poisoned. There was no cure because he had consumed too much poison. Along the way, Finn Taylor had tried saving him. Unfortunately, he had already found out about Joseph Larson being poisoned for a long time. This wasn't the first time. Although Joseph Larson survived because his grandson-in-law had sent him to the hospital in time, he remained in a coma. He was now in a vegetative state. Finn Taylor made a call to his wife. Seeing that it was her husband, Yvette Larson thought nothing about it before rejecting the call. Finn Taylor was at a loss. He knew that she was still mad at him. As such, he made a second call to her. She rejected it. Then, a third call, another rejection. Ellipsis. The 10th call. Yvette Larson finally picked up the call. Before she tried to hang up the call once again, she said, "Finn Taylor, I know you have a lot of time on hand, but that doesn't mean everyone has that much free time too. Can you stop calling me?" "Yvette, something has happened to Grandpa." Yvette Larson nearly ended the call, but she had her husband's words. "What did you say?" "I'm at St. Cloud Hospital. Grandpa is gravely ill, so you must be mentally prepared." Yvette Larson felt her heart thumping rapidly against her chest. For some reason, she didn't have a good feeling about this. She rushed down to the hospital, and with her husband's guidance, she arrived at the door to the ICU. "What happened to Grandpa?" "I went to the Gold family's residence today." Yvette Larson flared up. "I want to know what happened to Grandpa and why he's in the ICU. Why is Finn talking about the Gold family? Is he still talking about the Gold family and Kimberly Gold even now?" "I went to the Grandpa and scored a collaboration with the Gold family for the Larson family. Then, I wanted to look for Grandpa to tell him about this. But by the time I arrived, Grandpa had already fainted. I took him here, and they said that he was poisoned. Although he's now out of danger, it's unlikely that he'll wake up from his coma. He'll probably remain in a vegetative state for the rest of his life." As Yvette Larson listened to her husband, the fury in her heart gradually turned into shock and then disbelief. Grandpa is in a vegetative state. How can that be? Her grandpa, who had always looked down on her and was biased toward Quince Larson, was now in a vegetative state. It was unbelievable. Yvette Larson didn't dare to make a decision and quickly made a call to her father. Number 1 Pacific Heights. The moment Francis Larson heard his daughter's words, his phone fell right out of his hand. In an instant, he seemed like a deflated balloon and crumpled onto the ground. Linda James couldn't help but lash out at him. "Francis Larson, what are you doing? You'll have to spend more money to get yourself a new phone now that you've broken yours." For a mere phone, Linda James had yelled at her husband for more than 10 minutes. In the end, Francis Larson could no longer take it. "Can you shut up? Francis Larson, how dare you rebuke me? You were the one who broke your phone. Do you think you're right? Linda James, do you know that Dad is in a coma now and is in a vegetative state?" A vegetative state? Linda James was taken aback. Then, she quickly notified the rest of the Larson family. However, she simply sent them all a voice message, informing them that the old master was in a vegetative state. She also requested for them to rush to the ICU of St. Cloud Hospital immediately. The news of Joseph Larson being in a vegetative state quickly took the entire family by storm. Yvette Larson's phone was nearly blowing up from their calls. However, she chose not to pick a single one of them up and simply switched her phone off. On the other hand, Quince Larson rejoiced when he received that call. "Initially, I would have been the main suspect in this incident. But Finn Taylor, you're so unlucky to have visited Grandpa then. More importantly, you were the one who sent Grandpa to the hospital. Great, you'll have to take the blame for it now." Very quickly, the Larson family assembled at the hospital. "Yvette, what happened to Grandpa? Who brought him here? Tell us." Quince Larson was enthusiastic and didn't even bother asking about his grandpa. He simply wanted to know who had found his grandpa. However, nobody noticed that detail. Yvette Larson glanced at her husband, who immediately stood up. "I was the one who found Grandpa and brought him here." This was exactly what Quince Larson was waiting for. He grabbed the other's collar. "Finn Taylor, Grandpa is just a little curt when he speaks to you, but he's still your elder. Couldn't you just give in to him? How could you think of killing Grandpa?" With that, everyone glared at Finn Taylor. The latter shoved Quince Larson aside. Grandpa fainted from being poisoned. By the time I arrived, he was already unconscious. If not for me, Grandpa wouldn't even be in a vegetative state. You'd be looking at his corpse. But nobody was convinced. Instead, they came to a conclusion: Finn Taylor had poisoned their grandpa. Then, he pretended to bring Grandpa to the hospital. Now, he was even putting on an act in front of everyone. Get out! Francis Larson was furious. This time, he was truly infuriated. Finn Taylor looked at his father-in-law. You don't believe me either. Get out! Those were the only words Francis Larson said to his son-in-law. However, the latter didn't want to explain himself when everyone had already been brainwashed by Quince Larson. Now, they were convinced that it was Finn Taylor who had poisoned the old master. Outside the hospital, Finn Taylor lit a cigarette for himself. Just then, his wife walked over. He quickly threw the cigarette onto the ground and extinguished it. Yvette Larson was stunned. She didn't know how to describe her husband's actions. It looked like he had done so subconsciously without giving it any thought. However, it was extremely difficult for a smoker to train themselves to have such muscle memory. Did Finn do that because I told him that I don't like people smoking in front of me? Did he really cheat on me? La Feria Club, Kimberly Gold, what's the truth behind them all? Did I really misunderstand him? Do you trust me? When his wife walked up to him, Finn Taylor finally posed her this question. After contemplating for a moment, she finally said, I believe in you. Why? Finn Taylor pointed at the hospital. Those people all think that I poisoned Grandpa. Besides, all the evidence points toward me now. I believe that you're not someone like that. All that evidence is just a smokescreen. Yvette Larson believed that her husband wouldn't kill others. She felt that she had already gotten a good understanding of him over the past 3 years. What about La Feria Club and Kimberly Gold? What if I told you that those are smokescreens too? Will you believe me then? Yvette Larson was stunned and at a loss for words. Is what I believe to be the truth really the truth, or does Finn really have his own reasons for hiding it from me? But Yvette Larson didn't answer her husband. Joseph Larson lay in the hospital for half a month with no sign of awakening. The doctor told the Larson family that he could be transferred to a normal ward and that he only needed a nurse to take care of him. Whether he would wake up from this coma would depend on fate. The Larson family had no choice but to accept the situation. But just then, Quince Larson spoke up. Wait a minute, don't they say that a kingdom can't go without a ruler? Although the Larson family isn't exactly big, we can't go without a family head. With Grandpa in this state, shouldn't we select a temporary family head? Based on what Grandpa said last time, we should choose the next family head from the 3rd generation. That leaves me, Yvette, Eleanor, and Quinn. Uncles and brothers, who do you think is the most suitable? Quince Larson's father Franklin Larson looked at Francis Larson. Eldest brother, I definitely wouldn't fight with you if you had a son. Unfortunately, you have a daughter. Besides, it's because of your son-in-law that Dad is in this state. Do you really think your daughter deserves to be the temporary family head? Francis Larson didn't have any right to have a say. His daughter was the one who had to make her own decision about whether she wanted to be the family head. As such, he remained silent. Yvette Larson looked at her cousin. Don't you just want me to give up fighting for the position? I can do that, but I have one request. Quince Larson replied, fine. Without having any solid evidence, you can't accuse Finn of poisoning Grandpa. If I give up fighting for the position, you guys have to promise that you won't accuse Finn of poisoning Grandpa unless you guys have solid evidence. Quince Larson was fuming. Yvette Larson, are you trying to get your husband off the hook? Fine, if you're going to be so stubborn, let's not do it this way. If you want to choose a temporary family head, we should go by what Grandpa said. Whoever has better achievements in the company gets to be the family head. I think I should have earned quite a lot for the company with our project with the Sullivan family. Just today, Finn Taylor scored a deal with the Gold family as well. Why don't we go back to the office and do our sums? Quince Larson glared at his cousin. There was no way he would surpass his cousin if they were to compare their results. Eventually, he chose to compromise. All right, from now on, I won't say that Finn Taylor poisoned Grandpa. Will that do? Fine, I'll give up fighting then. But if I find out that you're saying anything behind my back, I'll get back into the race. Quince Larson harumphed and turned to Eleanor Larson. Don't look at me, I'm not interested in it at all. You can be the head. Finally, he turned to Quinn Larson. What about you? The latter didn't say anything, but his mother did. The eldest branch has their terms, and so do wed my name into the family records. Hillary Stone was a disgrace to the entire Larson family. Ever since that incident, the old master had removed her name from all of their family records. But now, she made such a ridiculous request. If you refuse, I'll get my son to fight for the position of family head. Don't you think the mother of a family head deserves to have her name in the family records? In an instant, Hilary Stone and Quince Larson were going head to head. Quince Larson and Hilary Stone locked eyes for a good 10 minutes. Eventually, the former backed down. He decided to take the position of family head first. After the dust settled, he would take his time to deal with all of these people. Fine, I'll add your name into the family records. Everyone was shocked by Quince Larson's decision, including Frederick Larson and Franklin Larson, but they chose not to say anything. This was because they were the reasons for this scandal in the first place. Just then, Francis Larson, who had remained silent this whole time, spoke up. Do you think Dad would agree to this? Unfortunately, his words didn't hold any weight. Eldest uncle, I'm the family head now. I don't need you to teach me what to do. Francis Larson didn't want to speak to his family anymore. How can they try to put that scandal behind them now that Dad is in a coma? This can only mean that many more scandals are bound to happen. After Quince Larson got what he wanted most, the family dispersed. The pitiful old master was still lying in the hospital, unconscious. However, it was true that he had brought this upon himself. He had never cared about those who cared the most about him. On the other hand, he was biased toward those who didn't care about him at all. He had to bear some responsibility for the state the Larson family was in today. That day, Third Master Gold invited Finn Taylor to the Gold family's residence for a game of chess. However, the latter saw no chessboard prepared after arriving. Third Master Gold gestured for the latter to take a seat before saying, "Take a seat. I have something to tell you." Finn Taylor didn't know what Third Master Gold wanted but sat down nonetheless. I heard about what happened in the Larson family. You were maligned, weren't you? Finn Taylor shrugged. As expected, bad news has wings. Here's $1.5 million. Divorce Yvette Larson and leave the Larson family. Third Master Gold placed a check in front of the other arrogantly. Yet, Finn Taylor ripped that check into shreds right in front of him. Although $1.5 million was an astronomical sum to an average person, it was just spare change to Finn Taylor. Finn Taylor then took out his black card and slammed it on the table. In an instant, Third Master Gold was at a loss for words. The black card is worth much more than $1.5 million. No wonder he wasn't tempted by this sum of money. I heard that you haven't been on good terms with Yvette Larson lately. Third Master Gold laughed awkwardly before changing the topic. Since when has Third Master Gold started caring about the relationship between married couples? Third Master Gold felt a little embarrassed when Finn Taylor called him out. It was obvious that these questions were from Kimberly Gold, but they seemed weird coming out of his mouth. Since you asked, I'll answer you. The entire Larson family suspects me of poisoning Joseph Larson. My wife was the only one who stood up for me. She told me that she trusts me. She even gave up the position of the family head to make a request. Nobody in the Larson family can accuse me of poisoning the old master before they have solid proof. Kimberly Gold, who had been hiding in a corner, was eavesdropping on her grandpa's conversation with Finn Taylor. Of course, her heart sank the moment she heard that. Hey, Finn Taylor, you're here. That's good, I have something to ask you. Just then, Carl Gillies arrived. That brought Third Master Gold's conversation with Finn Taylor to an end. The latter quickly put away his black card and asked, President Gillies, what do you need? I need a favor from you. I'm participating in a chess match in a few days' time, but I think I'll lose badly. I was thinking of getting you to play in my place. Go ahead and state your demands. I'll try to fulfill them as much as possible. Alright, I'll keep that request for another time. I'll let you know when I think of what I want. His curiosity was piqued. Who are you playing against? Jessica Daimler. Finn Taylor had to resist the urge to kick Carl Gillies to death right then and there. If I had known that I needed to play against Jessica Daimler, I would have definitely refused the offer. Jessica Daimler was the American Chess Association's president. She was also the top female chess player in the world. Fuck. How could you ask me to play against Jessica Daimler? I might very well lose to her. What? It's just Jessica Daimler, isn't it? Young man, you should be full of fighting spirit. Seeing how Carl Gillies was rubbing it in, Finn Taylor really wanted to punch him right in the face. Don't look at me like that. Let me tell you something, Jessica Daimler is going to bring her disciple as well. Finn Taylor, I heard that you're not doing too well in the Larson family. What do you think about this girl? As he said that, he even took a photo out. Her name is Megan Daimler. She's the adopted daughter of Jessica Daimler and her disciple. Grandpa Carl, Aren't you afraid that Jessica Daimler will kill you for introducing her daughter to a married man? Kimberly Gold could no longer hold it in. I haven't even won him over. Why am I getting another rival? As such, she rushed out and interrupted her grandpa Carl. The latter was stunned. That's right, if Jessica Daimler learns about it, she might very well break all my bones. When's the match? In a week's time at the Chess Association. Finn Taylor nodded and noted the details down. He had no interest in that disciple, he had a wife. Upon returning home, Finn Taylor heard sobs coming from the washroom. As he carefully pushed the door open, he spotted Francis Larson on the ground, his face full of tears and snot. As soon as he spotted Finn Taylor, he rushed up to hug the latter. Finn Taylor, my dad is in a vegetative state. If he doesn't wake up, I'll have no father. I'll be an orphan. My dad is gone. Over the past few days, the Larson family had received quite a few visitors. Francis Larson had welcomed all these guests very warmly. He had even comforted the visitors, saying that his father was lucky that he had been found and sent to the hospital in time. Even if he were to pass away now, he had lived a long and fulfilling life. He had told his friends and family not to be too upset over this. To that, many guests had said that Francis Larson was heartless. How could he remain so indifferent when his own father was in this state? But today, Finn Taylor had seen his father-in-law in his rawest state. My dad is gone. Francis Larson's words replayed again and again in Finn Taylor's mind. Eventually, the pair dried their tears and walked out of the washroom. Finn Taylor brought a carton of beer over, and they drank to their heart's content. Neither said a word, and they simply sat in silence as they downed one can of beer after another. There was no need to say anything. Everything was expressed in their drinking. All their emotions went down along with the alcohol. Francis Larson's words replayed in Finn Taylor's mind. My dad is gone. Finn Taylor couldn't help but feel like he was seeing someone else in his father-in-law Jacob Taylor. Jacob Taylor was the previous head of Peregrine Hall, the previous Master Peregrine. That is, Finn Taylor's father. As Finn Taylor got drunk with Francis Larson, he couldn't help but think of the man he called his father. Ellipsis. Chicago, the Taylor family. Wendy Jensen was kneeling on the ground. In front of her was an old lady on the matriarch's chair. The old lady exuded a formidable aura. She was none other than Finn Taylor's grandma Frida Cameron. That person has been away from our family for 3 years, right? Frida Cameron's words broke Wendy Jensen's heart. She knew that the former was speaking of Finn Taylor. The old lady was extremely biased. While they were both her grandsons, there was a huge difference between the way she treated Finn Taylor and Donovan Taylor. It was so different that Finn Taylor didn't even deserve to be called by his name in this house. The old lady simply addressed him as, that person. In reality, Wendy Jensen was nowhere near as biased as Finn Taylor made her out to be. However, she had no other choice. She didn't have much of a say in this family either. It's been more than 3 years. Oh, you were the one who promised me that he'd make a name for himself within 3 years. But look at what he's become now. The whole of San Francisco calls him a piece of trash. The old lady had never liked Finn Taylor and preferred his brother, Donovan Taylor. But Finn Taylor was the elder brother. Based on the rules of inheritance, Peregrine Hall would end up in Finn Taylor's hands. This was why she had always been finding ways to deal with Finn Taylor. It had been her idea to chase Finn Taylor out of Chicago by marrying him into the Larson family. She had thought that the title of Master Peregrine would naturally belong to Donovan Taylor in that situation. What she had never expected was for her son Jacob Taylor to pass on and Donovan Taylor to go missing in the short span of 3 years. Ultimately, the old lady's plans had fallen through, and the title of Master Peregrine had still ended up in Finn Taylor's hands. However, she was still adamant and believed that Finn Taylor wasn't fit to be Master Peregrine. Did you tell him everything when you were in San Francisco last time? Hearing that question, Wendy Jensen felt her heart skip a beat. This was because she had only done half of what the old lady had instructed her to do. The old lady had instructed her to go to San Francisco and let Finn Taylor know that he was Master Peregrine, but she had one condition: he had to change his name to Donovan Taylor and pretend that Donovan Taylor had become Master Peregrine. Once Donovan Taylor was back, Finn Taylor would naturally have to hand over the title of Master Peregrine to his younger brother. However, Wendy Jensen had simply told her son that he was now Master Peregrine. She hadn't said anything about him needing to act as Donovan Taylor. What, did you not follow my instructions? Frida Cameron was an acute woman. From just Wendy Jensen's expression, she had managed to guess what had happened. I'll give you one last week to explain it to that person. If he wants to live, he'd better live as Donovan. If you don't clear the air within this week, I'll get someone to kidnap him. The old lady's commands were no different from an emperor's edict. Tears flowed down Wendy Jensen's eyes. They are both my children, and I've always been fair toward both of them. But I'm helpless sometimes, and this makes me seem biased too. But today, the old lady was insistent on stripping Finn Taylor of his own identity. Wendy Jensen couldn't help but feel sorry for her son. Ellipsis. Finn Taylor was miles away in San Francisco, knew nothing about this. Perhaps, Yvette Larson had started doubting whether her husband had indeed cheated on her and had started talking to him again. We've run into some problems with Grandpa's ward. What happened? Finn Taylor remembered that he had arranged for the best ward in the hospital for the old master. The Larson family cared a lot about their reputation, and it was only normal for them to do this. The doctor called yesterday, saying that an important figure from Chicago is coming and has reserved that ward. They need Grandpa to move out. Finn Taylor frowned. That's ridiculous. You can give any other ward to that person once others are discharged. But now that he's still hospitalized, how can you just chase him out? Everyone will be at the hospital later in the afternoon. Finn Taylor nodded. All right, I'll follow you there. That afternoon, Finn Taylor accompanied his wife to the hospital. As expected, all of the Larson family members were unwelcoming to the former. However, nobody dared to say a word because of Yvette Larson's condition. Quince Larson, what are we going to do about Grandpa's ward? Since Quince Larson was now the temporary family head, he had the responsibility to lead the family. Now, he had to deal with whatever problems the family faced. Wait here, I'll go talk to the director. Quince Larson was helpless too. In fact, he really didn't want to meddle in this matter. In fact, he even hoped that his grandpa would die as soon as possible. Only then would he have a firm hold on the position of family head. Besides, he'd be able to make Finn Taylor take the blame for him forever. If Grandpa wakes up from his coma, I will be done for. Yet, he had no other choice. As the temporary family head, he had to do something. After Quince Larson headed to the director's office, Finn Taylor told his wife that he was going to the washroom and left as well. Quince Larson knocked on the door of the director's office before entering. As soon as he walked in, he presented the director with a name card. Hello, Director. I'm Quince Larson. I'm the chairman of Larson Corporation and the head of San Francisco's Larson family. My grandpa Joseph Larson is currently being warded in your hospital. The director didn't even spare the name card a glance. It's good that you're here. I was just about to look for you. Your grandpa's ward has been given to someone else. You guys have to move out. Quince Larson put on a fake smile. Director, don't do that. My grandpa is already there, and we shouldn't move him out so suddenly. I'm quite a well-known figure in San Francisco, so why don't you let him stay on my account? You can let me know if you need any help in the future. The whole Larson family knows that I'm here. It'd be humiliating if I can't settle this. Quince Larson had no choice but to try to convince the director. Yet, the director merely sneered. Who are you? Do you think the Larson family is so impressive? Your family was nothing more than a joke at the Gold family's banquet. Besides, you were the one who kneeled down, weren't you? Don't think that I don't know who you are. Get out now. Quince Larson had been exposed, and he couldn't help but feel humiliated. Just then, Finn Taylor walked in. Director, what's going on? Why are you so worked up? Seeing that it was Finn Taylor, Quince Larson flared up. What are you doing here? Quince Larson hadn't even managed to settle the matter before Finn Taylor barged in. Naturally, the former felt that the latter was here to make a joke out of him. Of course, Finn Taylor didn't even spare Quince Larson a glance. He looked at the director and asked, is there a patient by the name of Joseph Larson who needs to move out of his ward? The director rolled his eyes. What's wrong with your family? Didn't I just tell you that you need to move out? Why are you guys coming to look for me one after another? Finn Taylor looked at the director. A call. He passed the director his phone. The latter was about to refuse, but he stole a glance at the contact info. It was Carl Gilliest, president of San Francisco's Chess Association. Could it really be him? Because he had no clue whether it was really him, the director chose to pick up the call. Director Kleina, please do me a favor. The young man who passed you the phone is a good friend of mine. Director Kleina's face drained of all color, and he said, Mr. Gillies, I'm in a tough spot. The person from Chicago is an important client requested for that ward. Director Kleina, can you tell who I am? Third Master Gold. That's right, this young man is my friend too. By then, the director had already stood up from his chair. Perhaps he could still consider himself to be of the same generation as Carl Gillies, but Third Master Gold of Chicago was a senior to him. Third Master Gold, it's really difficult for me to do this. But since you're the one asking, I'll do it for your sake. After hanging up the phone, the director handed the phone back to Finn Taylor. I'm so sorry, sir. I didn't know that you were friends with Third Master Gold. You don't have to move out of the ward. The old master is old, and I'll arrange for the best doctors here to treat him. Finn Taylor nodded and thanked the director. He then left the director's office. Quince Larsenho was still in the office, felt terribly awkward. Finn Taylor resolved what I couldn't with just a phone call. Doesn't that mean that I can't even compare to Finn Taylor? When Quince Larson returned to the rest of the family, everyone was curious about what had happened. The temporary family head simply told everyone that he had settled the matter. Everyone was overwhelmed with emotions. As expected of Quince, he really deserves to be the head of our family. Look at how capable he is, he managed to solve the matter so easily. That's right, just look at the Larson family's status. 7 The Sullivan family of New York and the Gold family of Chicago can't wait to work with us. The collaboration between the Gold family and Larson family had begun. It was clearly because the Larson family was afraid of San Francisco's other prominent families targeting them that they had begged the Gold family for a collaboration. But now, they had flipped the entire situation around. It sounded as though the Gold family couldn't wait to work with them. The Larson family thought the best of themselves, and that was why they were still so unsuccessful to this day. You're all too kind with your words. It wasn't Quince's credit alone. It's because of all our efforts in making the Larson family a top-tier family in San Francisco that the director agreed to our request. Just like that, the Larson family continued praising and hyping each other up. The director walked over just then, wanting to let them know that they wouldn't need to move out of the ward. What he heard was the Larson family putting down the Gold family. In an instant, the director lost his cool. Do you think I allowed you to stay in this ward because of your family's name? Who are you? Do you think you deserve my respect? The director's fierce stance stunned the entire Larson family. What's going on? Do you mean that the director didn't give in to us because he was afraid of our family? Who are you? What do you mean? I'm the director of this hospital. What I'm saying is that your Larson family doesn't have any right to bargain with me. If not for Third Master Gold, do you think I'd let you have this ward? Third Master Gold, the Larson family glanced at each other. There is only one person in the entire Larson family who can use Third Master Gold's name, the useless matrilocal son-in-law, Finn Taylor. However, nobody in the Larson family was willing to admit to that. Just then, Finn Taylor walked over with a basket of fruits. He placed it in the ward, instructing the caretaker to cut them up for any visitors. He even told the caretaker to give Yvette Larson a call if anything happened. With that, he walked out of the ward and up to the director. Mr. Kleine, I'm sorry for causing you trouble. It's no trouble at all. You're the Third Master's friend, so you're my friend too. You don't have to thank me for such a trivial matter. Finn Taylor nodded and said to his wife, it's settled. Let's go home. He didn't say a word to the Larson family. That infuriated them. Since when did this piece of trash start ignoring us? We have to reason it out with him, but it'll be embarrassing if that director puts us down again. As Finn Taylor drove home, his spouse looked at him. Your relationship with the Gold family seems to be improving. They're even interfering in our family's private matters now. Yvette Larson had thought long and hard about this over the past few days. As a woman, she was sure that Kimberly Gold liked her husband, but she didn't know whether her husband liked Kimberly Gold too. What she was afraid of was the Gold family slowly interfering in the Larson family's private matters. Come on, I'll bring you for a meal. Instead of answering her question, he changed the topic of their conversation. Yvette Larson was stumped. What are we eating? I recently found a restaurant that makes mean barbecued ribs. Unfortunately, their recipe is a little strange. What do you mean? Forget that there aren't any bones in their ribs, but they don't add any sugar to their ribs either. Yvette Larson was confused for a moment, but she finally understood what her husband meant. He was trying to say that she was being jealous for nothing. Yvette, it's just business between the Gold family and me. As for Kimberly Gold, she's just a young brat. You don't have to worry about her. Yvette Larson huffed but remained silent. However, her mood had obviously improved compared to the previous week. Still, Finn Taylor brought his wife to that restaurant and ordered vinegared ribs without any sugar. The chapters is up by N0VE Iban. Master, is that person we're going against talented at chess? Two women had just touched down at San Francisco's airport, and they caught the attention of everyone. It wasn't just the men who were staring at them. Even women had their eyes fixed on these two women. They were none other than Jessica Daimler and Megan Daimler. Jessica Daimler was the American Chess Association's president and the top female chess player in the world. She had arrived in San Francisco because of the match with Carl Gillies. Faced with her disciple's question, Jessica Daimler merely shook her head. No, maybe I'll put it in another way, there's nobody in this whole country that is my match. Jessica Daimler dared to say so. If anyone else had said so, they definitely would have been lambasted by all other chess players. But Jessica Daimler wasn't bragging. It was true that she could beat every single other player in this country. If anyone didn't want to admit to that, they could have a round against her. Jessica Daimler was confident of thrashing her opponents. Master, since he isn't talented, why did you want to have a match against him? In recent years, Jessica Daimler no longer played as many games as she had in the past. On the one hand, she had toned down with age and no longer enjoyed the fierce competition. On the other hand, she couldn't find anyone who was capable enough to go against her. Because of you, because of me, Megan Daimler was curious about what this had to do with her. All these years, you've been building up your own reputation, but every time anyone talks about you, they always add that you're my disciple. While they're not wrong, it's limiting your growth. You have to overcome this barrier, so I've chosen 10 people for you. Each of these 10 people is a top player in the country and is known for different things. The one I've chosen for today is the president of San Francisco's Chess Association. I'll help you defeat him completely. I'll then bring you to more tournaments, and you'll have to win every single one of them. Wait and see if I'll chop your hand off if you dare to lose even one of them. Megan Daimler held her head up high, her expression full of confidence. Master, don't worry, I won't lose. Megan Daimler wasn't being boastful, she was simply confident in herself because she was Jessica Daimler's disciple. Ellipsis. San Francisco's Chess Association. A crowd had already gathered because everyone knew that Jessica Daimler was going to appear. Of course, some young men were even waiting for Megan Daimler's appearance. Mr. Gillies, when will Ms. Daimler come? Everyone in the association was especially respectful toward Jessica Daimler. It was all because she had once said that none of them even had the right to enter the American Chess Association, so they had no right to address her as president. They could only address her as Ms. Daimler. At that time, Jessica Daimler had been terribly arrogant while saying that, and many had been offended. Yet, these people simply felt that it was her right to do so. After all, it was Jessica Daimler they were talking about. If she wasn't this arrogant, she never would have become the top female chess player in the world. What's the hurry? She's already landed, and she'll be here soon. Mr. Gillies, is Megan Daimler really coming with her? It was obvious that there were many who cared about the young and beautiful Megan Daimler. Look at all of you. Can't you be more mature? You should be thinking about how to play against her. All of you are such idiots. Do you think she'd fall for any of you? Carl Gillies was easygoing and was just trying to make a joke. Of course, the others weren't angered by his joke either. Mr. Gillies, you make it sound so easy. Does that mean you can defeat Ms. Daimler so that she'll respect you too? Carl Gillies' expression darkened. Why do they have to bring this up? If I could beat Jessica Daimler, I'd be the American Chess Association's president. Thankfully, I've already invited Finn Taylor. Given his skills, he won't lose too badly to Jessica Daimler even if he does lose. In that case, Jessica Daimler would see that I'm not any worse in raising disciples than her. This would mean that I would be able to preserve my dignity at the very least. Carl Gillies, are you ready to lose? Just then, someone strolled over while chuckling. Of course, it was Third Master Gold. Following closely behind him was Kimberly Gold. Oh, you're finally here, you old bast. Don't worry, I'm not going to lose. Although he said so, Carl Gillies understood that he wasn't going to win either. However, Third Master Gold didn't harp on the topic because even he knew that Carl Gillies had no chance of winning. He was only here to see whether Finn Taylor or Jessica Daimler would take the victory. Bang, bang, bang. Just then, a loud noise could be heard outside. Two beautiful women strolled into San Francisco's Chess Association while surrounded by throngs of people. They're here. Everyone could clearly see that the two women were finally here. Ms. Daimler. Even with his status, Carl Gillies had to address Jessica Daimler respectfully. However, the latter just nodded blandly. It was obvious just how vastly different their statuses were. You're finally here, Jessica Daimler. On the other hand, Third Master Gold was much more casual. Since he wasn't part of the chess circle, there was no need for any talk of seniority between him and Jessica Daimler. Given the Gold family's resources, the Chess Association would even ask them for sponsorship sometimes. This was why he dared to address Jessica Daimler by her full name. "Oh, you're here too, Third Master Gold." As expected, Jessica Daimler replied to him. "I'm here to watch you play." But a cold glance flashed past Jessica Daimler's eyes. She was a little curious. It's clear that Carl Gillies will definitely lose the match. Why did he bother telling Third Master Gold about this? Isn't he afraid of being embarrassed? "Carl Gillies, I don't have much time. Why don't we start now?" Jessica Daimler didn't like to waste any time and got straight to the point. As for Carl Gillies, he had already set a chessboard up and was just waiting for Jessica Daimler's arrival. The latter glanced at the chessboard but didn't sit down. She turned to her disciple. "Sit, let Mr. Gillies give you some guidance. Otherwise, you might get too cocky about yourself." Jessica Daimler seemed to be chiding her disciple, but Carl Gillies' expression fell. What does she mean? Didn't we agree to have a match with each other? How can she suddenly get her disciple to play against me instead? Seniority is of priority in this circle. I'm the president of San Francisco's Chess Association, so why should I have to play against Jessica Daimler's disciple? "Ms. Daimler, I think that's not right. Won't I be at fault if I defeat your disciple?" Carl Gillies was fuming. He hadn't understood the situation earlier, but he did now. Jessica Daimler was trying to use him to raise her disciple up. "How can you do that? We had a deal, but you're going back on your word. This is ridiculous." "That doesn't matter. If she loses, you don't have to take it to heart either. She's not that skilled anyway." Carl Gillies roared. "Since that's the case, why don't you give my disciple some guidance as the American Chess Association's president, Ms. Daimler?" Carl Gillies was clearly targeting Jessica Daimler with his words. As expected, the latter fumed as soon as she heard that. He expects me to go against his disciple. He's clearly looking down on me. Does he think that he's too good for me and that I'm only worthy of a match against his disciple? Yet, she never once stopped to think that she was the one who had made this proposition first. "Carl Gillies, are you saying that your disciple is worthy of playing against me?" "What do you mean by that, Ms. Daimler? It's just guiding our juniors. Don't you think you're going too far with your words?" Although all of San Francisco Chess Association's members respected Jessica Daimler, they had spent much more time with Carl Gillies. Naturally, they felt disgruntled that he was being bullied. "Ms. Daimler, if you're unwilling to teach Mr. Gillies' disciple, why should he teach yours? Don't you think you're having double standards?" Jessica Daimler was furious. "I'm the most powerful person in the whole country when it comes to chess. All chess players ought to listen to me. How dare they all rebuke me today?" She was terribly displeased, but she had no choice but to give in when facing the angry crowd. "Fine, since that's the case, let's have our disciples play against each other first. The one who loses will be replaced by his or her master. How's that?" Although Jessica Daimler's suggestion still put Carl Gillies at a disadvantage, he didn't seem to be in any place to refuse. Fine, left with no other choice, Carl Gillies could only agree to it. But now, there was a huge question: who was the disciple that Carl Gillies was talking about? Everyone in San Francisco's Chess Association could be considered as Carl Gillies' disciple, but not a single one of them would be a match for Megan Daimler. This would mean that Carl Gillies would still have to play against the latter eventually. Then, his reputation would still be tarnished. It would be fine if he won, but if he lost, he might even have to resign from his position as the Chess Association's president. Who's the disciple he's talking about? It's not me, for sure. I'll definitely lose to Megan Daimler. You're making it seem as though I'd be able to win against her. The members were all discussing the matter, but even after scanning through all their members, they didn't see anyone who had even the slightest chance of winning. Just then, Finn Taylor seemed to stroll in without knowing what had happened. Carl Gillies finally relaxed when he saw Finn Taylor. "Ms. Daimler, my disciple is finally here. Tell your disciple to get ready to be wrecked." Jessica Daimler's gaze narrowed. She had to resist the urge to slap Carl Gillies. "I'm not one to be trifled with. You must be Mr. Gillies' disciple. Come on, let's have a round." No sooner had Finn Taylor arrived than a beautiful girl named him as Carl Gillies' disciple. What's going on? I don't think we agreed on this. Forget it, I'll ask Carl Gillies about this after this person leaves. I'll just go with the flow for now. I guess so. Finn Taylor's appearance had caught the attention of everyone, especially those from San Francisco's Chess Association. They couldn't help but wonder where this man had come from. Why have we never met him? Who is he? I don't know. I've never seen him in my life. Is he Mr. Gillies' new disciple? That can't be. This is such an important match, and he's letting his newest disciple represent him. Through their words, it seemed like Finn Taylor was a nobody to everyone. This made Jessica Daimler understand one thing: Carl Gillies could never beat her. He was disgusting her with a new disciple. How despicable. Of course, Jessica Daimler had never thought that her actions were despicable as well. Finn Taylor and Megan Daimler took their respective seats. Although Megan Daimler was a young girl, she was arrogant and haughty. Seeing that she had the advantage, she allowed Finn Taylor to make the first move. While others always gave in because of their own advantage, Finn Taylor would never. He made his first move and declared war on his opponent. Everyone's eyes were glued to the board. Even Third Master Gold and Carl Gillies couldn't tear their eyes away from the board. Only Jessica Daimler couldn't be bothered to spare the chessboard even one glance. Finn Taylor doesn't deserve my attention. They're insulting me. The game went on, and Megan Daimler was gradually taking longer to make every move. Her expression of disdain had turned into a serious one. She had thought nothing of Finn Taylor just moments earlier, but now, she had been proven wrong. In less than 10 minutes, she was already on the losing end. She had given her all, but she knew in her heart that the result was already set. All her efforts only served to delay the end of the game. Eventually, Megan Daimler made her move with a loud thud. She shook her head. It's over, it's finally over. Yes, it's game over. Jessica Daimler harumphed and sneered. It's normal to lose. Like master, like disciple. Carl Gillies, since your disciple lost, don't you think it's time for you to give Megan some guidance? Nobody agreed with her. She was greeted with only silence. What's going on? But she heard Carl Gillies say, Ms. Daimler, it's your disciple who lost. What? Jessica Daimler was in complete disbelief. Did I hear that wrongly? She turned to the chessboard but clearly saw that her disciple had lost. The latter had been completely defeated. At that moment, Jessica Daimler felt so embarrassed that she was at a loss for words. Just then, Finn Taylor pointed at the chessboard. I'd appreciate your guidance, Ms. Daimler. Finn Taylor had been exceptionally respectful with his words, but it sounded nothing more than ridicule to Jessica Daimler. She had set the rules. Now that her disciple had lost, she would be going back on her word if she didn't play against the other. Yet, it would be no different from losing even if she were to win this match once she sat down. Given her position as the American Chess Association's president, she had to play against the disciple of San Francisco Chess Association's president instead of the president himself. That would be a huge stain on her reputation. Jessica Daimler couldn't help but feel as though she had just shot herself in the foot, yet she couldn't say that. After giving it much thought, Jessica Daimler eventually took her seat. I can't be a sore loser. Even if it means embarrassing myself, I can't earn a reputation of being one to go back on my words. Otherwise, my reputation in the circle will be ruined. The chessboard was set. Of course, given Jessica Daimler's status, she wouldn't make the first move. She handed a notebook over to Megan Daimler. Keep count of my moves. If I don't win the game within 50 moves, I'll admit defeat. This was the only method Jessica Daimler had thought of to salvage the situation. Given her status, it would be no different from a defeat if she needed more than 50 moves to win against this novice. Jessica Daimler had full confidence in herself, but nobody thought that she was wrong in doing so. Of course, if she had boasted about her abilities in front of her mentor, they definitely would have reprimanded her. But it was Finn Taylor she was going against. He was a stranger that nobody knew. They had no feelings for Finn Taylor. In fact, they even felt that he wasn't deserving of playing a match against Jessica Daimler. It was just a feud between Jessica Daimler and Carl Gillies. Nonetheless, neither of them was willing to give in to the other. You should have known to back off after beating Megan Daimler. If not for your words, everyone would have been able to leave just fine. But because you asked for Jessica Daimler's guidance, you angered her. She's not going to let you off just like that. Megan Daimler did a quick count of the notebook's number of lines. Then, the game between Finn Taylor and Jessica Daimler started. As expected of the American Chess Association's president, Jessica Daimler didn't even hesitate before making her moves. The audience couldn't even keep up with her speed. Often, they were still thinking about why she had made a certain move even after she had done so. Just like that, they progressed to the 25th move. By then, the two players had already set the stage and were starting to reel in their nets. Everyone could clearly see that Jessica Daimler held the absolute advantage. Third Master Gold and Carl Gillies glanced at each other, helplessness in their eyes. There's nothing we can do. Finn Taylor is already an excellent player. Even if we are to play together against him, we won't be his match. However, Jessica Daimler really is too talented. She's indeed the top female chess player in the world and the American Chess Association's president. With every move, she conquered more of the board and vanquished even more of Finn Taylor's chess pieces. Everyone couldn't help but sigh. There is no way out of this. It seems like our chess association is destined to be crushed today. Yet, Jessica Daimler hesitated for a long while when she reached her 40th move. It was obvious that her hand was trembling. In fact, her whole body was trembling. What's going on? What? Jessica Daimler was in slight disbelief as she uttered that word. She hesitantly made her 40th move. Finn Taylor quickly made his move yet again. With this, he wiped out almost all of his opponent's chess pieces. Then, the 41st move. Finn Taylor quickly made his move yet again. Once again, many of Jessica Daimler's pieces were swept off the board. The 42nd move, the 43rd move, the 44th move, the 45th move. With every move, Finn Taylor swept even more of Jessica Daimler's pieces off the board. On the 49th move, it was obvious that she had lost all of her advantages. She made her 49th move, but she had nearly no pieces left on the chessboard. In the end, she couldn't even make her 50th move. I lost. Jessica Daimler's words left the audience dumbstruck. Everyone's eyes looked as though they were about to fly out of their socket. They stared at the chessboard, overwhelmed with emotions. Jessica Daimler lost to a young man no less. If word about this gets out, it will surely shake the whole chess community. But just then, Finn Taylor made the move for Jessica Daimler. With that one move, Finn Taylor turned the tides of the game. Jessica Daimler was now on the winning side. She couldn't believe her eyes were glued to the chessboard. Only after a long while did she ask, "You mean that I didn't lose?" Jessica Daimler didn't even seem like a top player now. She looked much more like a novice who was seeking guidance from Finn Taylor. Jessica Daimler hadn't lost, yet she hadn't recognized that. She had even admitted defeat to Finn Taylor. This was even more humiliating than losing the game. As the American Chess Association's president, she hadn't even been able to tell whether she had won the game. Finn Taylor didn't reply to Jessica Daimler and simply made his move. With that, the tides turned once again. Jessica Daimler had lost her advantage. Finn Taylor was once again in control of the game. No, you lost. Yet again, Jessica Daimler couldn't even tell whether she had won or lost the game. I'm in full control of the game. With his actions, Finn Taylor proved to Jessica Daimler that there was always someone better no matter how good one was. This time, Jessica Daimler was convinced of her loss. I lost. They were the same words she had said earlier, but the tone was completely different. The previous time, Jessica Daimler had been a little reluctant, thinking that she had been too careless. If she had played well, Finn Taylor never would have had the chance to win. But this time, she understood full well that she never would have been able to win against him. This had been an exhilarating match, especially toward the end where Finn Taylor had been in full control of the whole game. Even Carl Gillies and Third Master Gold, who were watching on by the side, were dumbfounded. Jessica Daimler looked at Carl Gillies. I lost, but you didn't win either. This young man can't possibly be your disciple. Of course, there was nothing Carl Gillies had to say. It was true that Finn Taylor's chess abilities were out of this world. He had never ever witnessed such a chess formation in his life. There was no way he could have raised a disciple like this. We may be old, but it looks like there's hope for the chess community here in America. Jessica Daimler stood up and bowed to Finn Taylor, giving no care to her status. As the American Chess Association's president, I have a shameless request. Will you represent America in the international chess competition? In recent years, the American chess team had been on the decline and was no longer respected in the international community. Now that such a talent had appeared, Jessica Daimler naturally wanted him to represent their country. Wait for next part.